Alright, so I guess we're continuing this Arab Rav thing.
We're going to try to find a way to patch it into the last one that we did.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about a lot about Soros and all this kind of stuff, but I want to get into, like, I guess Rabbi Nava has a whole series, you know, like the Nephilim, Giborim, Rephaim, Anakim, all these different types of Erev Rav. And I really want... Huh?
No, well, I mean, it starts right away. Like, in the book, it says the 5 types of Erev Rav.
Okay.
According to the Zohar.
Yeah.
And then the first one is the Amalekim.
Okay.
Then the Nephilim.
We should really get into this, and we should try to maybe, like, I don't know, it's just fun for me to, like, try to figure out who we see kind of in front of us today that would maybe fit into these personages.
It's funny, that's where we left off.
Yeah, so let's...
Like, after, in the last time we talked about this, we'd have to find you know, that particular conversation.
Yeah.
We talked about these you know, designations, these like groups, and then categories, and then the book was about to explain to us how to interpret this, how to understand this, as it applies to the world.
So yalla.
I'm going to quickly just maybe review these groupings. So, is it ready?
Is what ready?
Oh, I'm saying, did you start recording?
Yeah, I started recording. Yeah. We've been recording.
I can never. Anyway, I'm always tricked. Okay, these conversations started with these tricks. Okay.
Exactly. It's like, were you recording this whole time?
I was like, and I start quickly panicking, scanning my memory. What did I say?
You son of a bitch! You fucking nice hole.
You bastard.
Anyway.
Okay. The 5 types of Erev Rav according to the Zohar. The Zohar explains that, well, first of all, I'd like to, any positivity, any Torah knowledge, any wisdom that is imparted to anybody, I would very much want it to go to the complete and total refuah shalema of my uncle Felix Falik Ben Esther.
Amen.
Thank you. Okay.
Amen. Refoil.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Raphael should Hashem should send Raphael to heal my uncle.
Yes.
Okay, so the 5 types of Erev Rav according to the Zohar. The Zohar explains that there are 5 categories of Erev Rav. Number 1, the Amalekites. These are the people who make themselves leaders by force. They're bullies who aren't scared to use violence, intimidation, or emotional manipulation to get their own way. Sounds like Trudeau.
Yeah.
The Nephilim, the fallen ones, these are the promiscuous people who are obsessed with their sexual lusts. Okay, then you have number 3, the Giborim, which is, the Giborim means the mighty ones.
Yeah.
These are the people who build synagogues. You know, they build institutions, like, you know, they even finance the building of yeshivas, right? And other communal structures, primarily because they want their name on the plaque.
Yeah.
You know, by the front door.
Yep.
Make sure everybody knows who's responsible for it.
It's called Kuvid.
Kuvid, yeah, the Kuvid, right. It also refers to these to those individuals who are interested in positions of leadership and power because of the honor and influence they'll receive, as opposed to being genuinely interested in working for the general good of the community. Okay, then you have number 4, the Rephaim.
Yeah.
These are the Rephaim means weak ones, but strangely enough, the Rephaim, it was a name for a race of giants that lived on the land in the land of Israel, among the Canaanite nations. But anyway, so the Rephaim, these are the people who, if they see Israel in trouble, they abandon them. If the state of Israel is engaged in a military operation against Arab terror, guess whose side these people will be on?
Yeah.
Even if they could help their fellow Jew in some way, they don't. Yeah. Preferring to ingratiate themselves with non-Jews instead.
Yeah.
this also refers to people who make very little effort to learn or to keep the Torah.
Okay? So this could be maybe like J Street, or these are Jews, or
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we're describing different categories of Erev Rav. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So even though all of these categories, like the titles of these categories, refer to people, to nations or entities that are not Jewish at all.
Yeah.
Okay, like the Amalekites, like the Nephilim, like the Giborim, and like the Rephaim. These are all non-Jews, right?
Yeah.
But the terms are borrowed to describe the different types of Arab Rav Jews, whose characteristics they are expressing,
embodying. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so right. So the last thing I said about the Rephaim was that this refers to people who make very little effort to learn or keep the Torah. Now, it's very obvious that means we're not talking about the children of captivity. We're not talking about people from our background, like Russian Jews, who don't know a damn thing. They don't know their left from their right.
Yeah.
And that's not what we're talking. We're talking about people who are familiar with Torah, who know, who have background, who have knowledge. And a person like that makes very little effort to learn or to keep the Torah, then this would be a trait that falls into the Giborim. I'm sorry, Rephaim. I apologize.
Yeah.
And then we have the fifth and final category, according to the Zohar. Okay, so we have the Anakim, which actually that's referred to as giants, but I think the term Anak means neck, or like long neck.
Anak does mean big, large. It means expansive.
I remember kind of researching this word a while back. It has to do with the long-necked giants.
Okay.
It's a specific type of giant that they have this characteristic.
Yeah.
So, so the Anakim. In modern parlance, we would describe this group of people as anarchists. Those people who hate rules, who hate being told what to do, who put a lot of effort into trying to destroy notions of morality, social responsibility, or having limits of any type put on their desires or behavior. Yeah. Sounds familiar? Okay, so that was according to the Zohar. Now we have 5 categories according to the Vilna Gaon. Okay? All right. So meanwhile, the Vilna Gaon also identifies 5 distinct types of Erev Rav, but he describes them a little differently, as follows. Those that create strife and talk lashon hara, okay, evil speech, gossip, and slander. Okay. Number 2, those who pursue their physical lusts and desires. Number 3, the swindlers who pretend to be tzaddikim, but their hearts are not straight. Okay. Seems like all of them are in this generation.
It looks like, we're dealing with these guys today. You're talking about the media. You're talking about so-called rabbis. You're talking about.
No, just well, a lot. I'm not talking about all the rabbis. Certainly some of them, even the prominent ones, fall into that. Yeah. But I was talking about generally people who are virtue signaling. Yeah. You know, they pretend. They pretend that they care for the. You know, like the best example that I've seen of that. The worst example is Trudeau. From the past 2 days that I've seen. Yeah. Like his one of his cabinet ministers is a child of a Nazi. Yeah. And so he's calling, conservative people, some of which whose parents died fighting the Nazis,
standing with a swastika or something like that.
Right, that's what Trudeau said, that they're standing with a swastika, and he even said that about a Jewish member of the Canadian Parliament. Yeah.
She's a Russian Jew, by the way.
Stupid system of government. That's a side point.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a Russian Jew, by the way. She's a Russian Jew lesbian, conservative.
I could tell by the haircut.
But she represents Thornhill, which is it's a frum neighborhood, Russian Jews, a lot of Bali Shuva, and I don't know. I guess she's awesome. Even, it is what it is, What can you do?
What was that movie? Who was kissing Jessica Stein? Who's, remember it was like one of these... Anyway, moving on.
The hell?
I don't want to get into that.
Okay.
trying to keep this somewhat serious.
Keep it kosher.
Somewhat kosher.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we were on category 3 of the Vilna Gaons. Mm-hmm. So the category 3 are the swindlers who pretend to be tzaddikim. They pretend to be righteous. They pretend that they care about these causes, but their hearts are not straight.
Yeah.
The entire left wing.
Yep.
Those who pursue honor. Okay, number 4. Those who pursue honor and build great synagogues to make a name for themselves. Okay. And number 5, those who pursue money and strife. As we can see, there's a lot of overlap between these two lists. And taken together, we're starting to build up a more composite picture of the sorts of things Arab Rav people might do. Okay, hold on. Then there's a section here that says the allusions to the Arab Rav in Psalm 37. So it says, now let's go to the Zohar, book 2, I guess, page 45b, where Rabbi Yitzhak, who's a rabbi from the Talmud, he explains that Psalm 37 is talking all about the Arab Rav. Yeah. Man, we read this last time, and I don't remember that at all. So, all right. So here's what it says. Rabbi Yitzhak opened and said, Psalm 37, verse 1. It says, do not pay attention to the deceivers, in Hebrew, Merayim.
Yeah.
Who are these deceivers? For it is not written sinners or evildoers, but deceivers. For they deceive themselves and those who befriend them. Rabbi Yehuda said, another rabbi from the Talmud, he said, deceivers, get away from the deceivers so that you will not befriend yourself with their acts and then be part of their sins. And he says, Tashma, come and see. If there was no Erev Rav, that act, meaning making the golden calf, would not have been done. Yeah. Okay, so he's saying if there's no Erev Rav, there would be no golden calf.
Yeah.
And all those who died, and all of those who died from Israel would not have died. And all that was caused upon Israel would not have been caused.
Wow, that's crazy.
So another clear trait of the Arab Rav appears to be that they lie, not only to those around them, but also to themselves.
Yeah.
All right. It says what else can Psalm 37 teach us about the negative Arab Rav traits? In that psalm, King David tells us 3 times. It says, "Do not compete with evildoers." Again, referring to the Arab Rav. Yeah. Okay. So, competition and comparing themselves to others appear to be 2 more key traits of the Arab Rav. Yeah. King David continues. He says, "The wicked man plots against the righteous person and gnashes at him with his teeth." I'll say that again. This is a quote from King David. The wicked man plots against the righteous person and gnashes his teeth at him. Okay? So, this suggests that the Merayim / Erev Rav appear to act spitefully and vindictively. Okay? And they have an obsession with getting even with other people. Yeah. Okay? King David continues. He says, "Borrow does the wicked, but repays not." Okay? So, another Arab Rav trait seems to be that they have very little regard for abiding by agreements or respecting other people's rights.
Interesting. Well, it looks like these guys don't like the Constitution. That we can see.
It's certainly not. Yeah.
You know what's interesting, man? I was going to mention this at the end, but You know, there's this whole discussion in the, I guess what you would call the astrological world. I mean, listen, we can talk about this because Avram Avinu was a, master of mazalot and stuff like that, right?
It certainly was. They all were.
And so there's this discussion about this whole thing called the Pluto Return. Basically, the planet Pluto, it moves very, very slowly. And apparently, it is returning into, I guess, Capricorn. I don't even know the language of this. I'm just parroting what they're saying. And the last time this happened, Pluto in general is a planet that represents, government systems and any kind of systems that people live by, or groups of people live by. And so the last time this happened was July 4th, 1776. And it hasn't happened in 248 years. And it's about to happen, they say, on February 22nd, which is, what's today, the 17th? In 5 days. And
why does it have to take so long? Slow as Pluto.
So so basically, I mean, it looks like we're either going to get some sort of, it's not even necessarily a breakdown. It's probably more of a rebirth, a renewal. Or since we're talking about this week's parsha, you're talking about new tablets, where America got a set of rules. Those rules were also came with a caveat that you have to follow Hashem. Even the goyim, the non-Jews, have to follow some modicum of Hashem, and it looks like they've gotten away from that. And by
Hashem is the enforcer of the Constitution.
Correct. And
the only reason why the Constitution is based entirely on the fact that God gave us divine natural right.
Exactly. And so they got away from that, and they got away from that, and then they got away from the Constitution, by extension, de facto. And so now we have to, almost reawaken or realize once again. This country has to realize once again why we're doing what we're doing, why we are following the system that we're following. What is the original, as they say in the Supreme Court? What was the original intent?
Yeah.
And I feel like either it's going to be that, or it's just going to be a completely new system altogether. And it may just be a thing where Mashiach just, Bezrat Hashem, announces himself and just said, "Listen, okay, you guys had an awesome experiment. It was an awesome experiment. You brought down a lot of bracha." For many non-Jews, many peoples who were attached to your incredible 250-year project, but now we have to finish just like you have to finish the experiment with Schmeiser. Now we have to finish this experiment because it was a great experiment in showing what can happen when the nations attach themselves to Hashem. Even though it's not Torah, even though it's not Beis Hamikdash, even though it's not Jerusalem, it's some kind of derivation thereof, and it has been incredible. Save a few bumps in the road, which, it's kind of like Rav Kook said, the foibles are great and consolations are greater. It was a great experiment, and so either it's going to get reconstituted. Exactly, that's what the cat agrees. He's like, yeah, it's like Parliament, yay and nay, hey, here. Or
I think that,
or the whole thing's gonna be dismantled. So,
to me, I see a pattern, I see a parallel with Tanakh.
Mm-hmm.
So the pilgrims who came to this continent,
mm-hmm.
North America, and eventually established this type of system. They came here, in a sense, to kind of live without a despotic ruler. To them, the
mm-hmm.
King of England was like Pharaoh.
Yeah.
And they wanted, so when they went out from Mitzrayim, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they came to their promised land, America, and they wanted to live just with God as the king, right? And they were very old. They were very Old Testament, Tanakh-oriented people. You know what I mean? Like the founding fathers, even their predecessors were very much in that mindset. Now, to me, that falls into my feeling about who Americans are. That they really are. They really are, probably without fully realizing it, they really are the Hebrew descendants of the lost tribes.
Yeah.
That's what I feel. Obviously, not a mainstream view just yet.
Yeah.
Okay. So that, and then, but if we continue with that pattern, right? Then what happened after like 400 years, right? From the time that they arrived in Israel until Shmuel, right? Until King Shaul, right?
Yeah.
Saul, right? So I think with the coming of King David, right?
Yeah.
And the Davidic throne being established, that's Mashiach.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think in a certain sense, there's like a pattern. It's a replay in a certain way of what happened back then.
It's interesting.
Where as long as during the times of the judges, right? As long as the people were worshiping God, meaning basing their entire worldview on the fact that God is in control, the creator, the sustainer in every respect, basically being in touch with reality. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Then things went well, and their system worked where they didn't have a king. Yeah. Each tribe had their own territory, their own country. Yeah. They had their own customs. Each tribe was literally like a different country.
Yeah, of course.
But they understood that they were brothers with the other tribes. Okay? But they didn't have a centralized government. They had a spiritual leader and a judge and a high priest. Okay? Yeah. But they didn't have a king. Yeah. A king is different. Yeah. Okay? So, and because God was their king. Yeah. If anybody reads the book of Samuel, you'll see that by the clear reading of the text, it seems that God was not very happy with the fact that they chose a king, a human king, rather than just making God their king. Yeah. Okay, so that was considered a step down, but it started a pattern. Okay, but nowadays, and here in the end, it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a corrected version of what happened back then. Because God was going to send them a king anyway, okay? Yeah. But it would have been done differently. It would have, if the people would have chosen God as the king, saying, we don't need any other king but God. So
in Lanu Melech or something like that.
Yeah, we don't need a human king, right? So God would have responded by saying, with that, I send you my servant, Mashiach.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? And then David probably would have been Mashiach. Right then and there.
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay? But that's what's going to happen this time. So it looks like America while it was God-centered, and it still is for the most part, the system of government could survive.
Yeah.
But with such an unbridled attack by these, as my brother likes to say, devolved pagans.
Pagans, yeah. No, they are.
Right?
They are.
Yeah. So it seems as though it's kind of crumbling, and we're going to need finally God's servant to come and to implement the king's decrees finally. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. It just seemed like that, like it was like a pattern that I noticed. If you accept the premise that the American people, are lost tribes, and I do, but so the pattern makes sense. If you don't accept it, then it's kind of more of a metaphorical.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which I guess can also be useful.
So, where did I even start this from?
Because the last thing I said was a quote from King David. It says that the wicked borrows, but he doesn't repay. Mm-hmm. And it kind of went from there. But there's more here. Should I continue?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Another Erev Rav trait seems to be that they have very little regard for abiding by agreements or respecting other people's rights. Okay. Yeah. So it says, the mouth of the righteous man utters wisdom, and his tongue speaks justice, which is mishpat in Hebrew. Yeah. The Torah of his God is in his heart. Okay. Falter not will his footsteps. Okay. The wicked one watches the righteous one and seeks to kill him. But Hashem will not forsake him to his hand, nor let him be condemned when he is judged. So in this passage, King David explained that a righteous Jew speaks justice. Okay? In other words, that he's internalized his Torah, and it's in his heart. By contrast, it appears to be a wicked / Arab Rav trait when people go through the external motions of being pious, or put on a show of being religious for other people. Which means that the Torah is not in their heart. They may have learned it, but it's not in their heart. The last Erev Rav trait we can gather from King David's words is the tendency to rush to judgment against other people and to condemn them harshly. And we've seen plenty of examples of that. Just, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. People say stuff about my brother. But it's obviously it's way more than that. But I'm saying from a personal standpoint, that's what I've seen. So remember that previously the Vilna Gaon explained that speaking evil about others and spreading slander and gossip, lashon hara, right, is a key trait of the Arab Rav. So before we leave Psalm 37, there's another secret we need to pick up here. Okay, and here's the third secret of the Arab Rav. We in the previous chapters of this book, we read the first two. Okay, but here's the third secret of the Arab Rav. Whenever we see the words merayim in Scripture, it's a coded word that the Arab Rav is being discussed. It's curious to see how many times merayim shows up in Tanakh. Okay, so another heading, it says the brazen-faced of the generation. Yeah. Okay. A little earlier we saw that the Vilna Gaon described the Arab Rav as being the brazen-faced of the generation. So what else can we find in our holy sources about brazen-faced people that might give us some more clues about who or what we're meant to be fighting against? Okay. So in our morning blessings, we recite the following bracha, blessing. Translation is, may it be your will, Hashem, my God, and the God of my forefathers, that you rescue me today and every day from those who are brazen-faced and from brazen-facedness, brazen-facedness, okay? From a person who is evil, from a companion who is evil, and even from an evil neighbor. So the morning brachot, blessings, the morning blessings seem to be setting up a clear connection between brazen-faced people and evil people. Cool. So in the daily Achanun service and our Yom Kippur davening, we begin the vidui, which is the confession part of our prayer service. Okay, we confess our sins with the following statement: do not ignore our supplication. Obviously, this is addressing God. Do not ignore our supplication, for we are not so brazen-faced and stiff-necked as to say before you, Hashem, our God, that we are righteous and have not sinned. For indeed, we and our forefathers have sinned. So here, our sages appear to be making a clear link between brazen-facedness and people who refuse to admit their sins or to repent for them. Okay. So brazenness in Sefer Hamidot, the Book of Traits. Rabbi Nachman. So, in his work Sefer Hamidot, the Book of Traits, Rabbi Nachman writes the following about brazenness. Brazenness is caused by anger. Brazenness prevents a person from accepting rebuke. Brazenness causes stubbornness and attests that one has not yet rectified the sinful ways of his ancestors. A brazen person has certainly stumbled in sin and will stumble in more sin. It is permitted to call him wicked and to hate him. And he is from the 974 generations that preceded the creation. Okay? This last statement is another link between brazenness and the Erev Rav. And it echoes both the words of the Vilna Gaon and the Gemara in the volume of the Talmud called Hagiga, on page 13 on the B side. Okay, so putting it all together, the negative traits of the Arab Rav. Okay. Before we conclude this chapter, let's take a moment to recap everything we've learned about the negative traits of the Arab Rav, as drawn from a variety of Jewish sources, ranging from the Holy Zohar through the Holy Sefer Tehillim, that's the Psalms.
Yeah.
Then the book Kol HaTor, which is attributed to the Vilna Gaon student, right? Teachings of the Vilna Gaon. And then Sefer Hamidot by Rabbi Nachman and other sources. Okay, so Erev Rav traits are described by the Zohar as following. They lack the traits of compassion and mercy for others. They bully other people. They use violence or intimidation and emotional manipulation to get their own way. Whatever it takes. They act in a sexually So they act in a sexually promiscuous way and have an unhealthy obsession with their lusts. They want to make a name for themselves. They'll contribute money for good causes in the Jewish world, primarily to get honor, right, and recognition from the community, but not for the correct reason. They'll pursue positions of leadership, both in the secular and the religious world, primarily for the influence, the power, and the prestige they'll acquire as a result, and not because they have the community's best interests at heart. They're moral cowards who are more interested in protecting their own social standing than helping their fellow Jew. They ingratiate themselves with non-Jews. Okay? Now, ingratiate means something different than being friendly. That's completely something different. That means like, you're trying to say you're sucking up to somebody.
It's a brown noser. You're.
Okay.
You're looking
they make
there.
very little effort. What was the last thing you said?
I said that they're, whatever.
Okay. I'm guessing you don't want to repeat it.
Yes, I don't want to repeat it.
I'll hear it on the replay if you're careful.
Yes.
Be careful. Okay. All right. Okay, fine. So they make very little effort to learn or keep the Torah. They are anarchists who are bent on destroying the fabric of society whichever way they can. They hate having to abide by rules, and they hate being told what to do. Okay. So now the Erev Rav traits, as described by the Vilna Gaon. What we just read, that was from the Zohar. Here's the Vilna Gaon now. They make a lot of trouble and create strife between people. They engage in evil speech, gossip, and slander. Lashon hara. They are obsessed with fulfilling their own lusts and desires, particularly sexual lust. They swindle other people. They pretend to be externally righteous or holy, but it's just for show, and their hearts aren't really into it. They pursue honor. They build synagogues, etc., just to make a name for themselves, not for not for the correct reason, not because they want people to pray. So they're obsessed with making money. Okay. Now here's the Erev Rav traits according to King David in Psalm 37. They deceive themselves and other people. They lie. They spend a lot of time comparing themselves to others and competing. They're spiteful and vindictive. They hold grudges. They're obsessed with getting even with other people. They often don't abide by the agreements they make. They don't respect other people's rights or property. They make a big show for other people of being pious or righteous, but they don't feel it in their hearts. That's Balrog. They rush to. You hear my cat?
Yeah.
I just on a side note, this is unbelievable. I'll tell you the story. It's crazy, and I don't know what it means. But I realized it just, for some reason I was thinking about his name, Balrog, right?
Yeah.
And I looked at his name, and it's a permutation. The consonants of Balrog are a permutation of Gabriel.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'll tell you the context of that story next. Yeah. And he's red. He's red. You know what I mean? He's a red cat. Anyway.
Yeah.
So they rush to. Okay. So again, sorry, folks. They're back. Okay. So they rush to judgment against other people. They're very critical of other people and condemn them, and they condemn people harshly. Okay. And here's the Erev Rav Traits as described in the Talmud in volume Hagiga on page 13. They are brazen. They are wicked, primarily because they refuse to accept God's primacy in the world and to abide by His Torah. Okay. All right. That was a shorter list, but okay. Now, so Erev Rav Traits as described in the Torah in Parsha Ki Tisa. Okay. It says they are stiff-necked and stubborn. Okay. And then here we have the traits of the Arab Rav according to Rabbi Nachman. They're angry, they can't accept rebuke, they're stubborn, they do a lot of sins. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, how is the wicked person going to vanish? Okay. Mm-hmm. The last thing we'll take from Psalm 37 is King David's wisdom about what ultimately happens to the Arab Rav. And here's the quote from the Psalm. Yeah. Psalm 37. Yeah. I have seen a wicked man, powerful and well-rooted, like a native tree that is ever fresh. Yet he vanished, and indeed he was no more. I sought him, but he was not to be found. End quote. Okay. Yeah. So as we're about to learn, this verse can be understood in either of two key ways, both of which have huge implications for how Jews should react. How they should react to the spiritual problem posed by the Arab Rav. Yeah. Okay. So let me just rephrase that question. So the question is, how should Jews react to the spiritual problem posed by the Arab Rav? So the first way, as espoused by many of our sages in their writings about the Arab Rav, is that the wicked person himself will vanish in entirety. The second way, as put forth by Rabbi Nachman in his lesson on Azamra. Yeah. Azamra, that's one of the, that's actually a few of the Psalms begin with Azamra, right? Yeah. So anyway, sorry. So Rabbi Nachman in his lesson on Azamra, which we'll explore in much more detail in a subsequent chapter, is that the wickedness in the person will vanish, leaving only the rectified good. Okay? So this distinction is crucial as we're about to find out. Okay, now, okay, so here's the fourth secret of the Erev Rav, right? It's, before the coming of Mashiach, the majority of our leaders will act like the Erev Rav. Okay? Mm-hmm. Arguably, one of the most upsetting factors of modern Jewish life is the number of Jewish leaders we have. Yeah. Both in the observant and the secular world, who are falling short when it comes to even basic standards of morality. Everyone, unfortunately, has their own examples of this, but it's useful to understand that this phenomenon, too, is connected to the Erev Rav issue we're discussing in this book. Okay. By the way, this is absolutely unprecedented, at least in the religious Jewish world. Okay, the sages of even like the previous generation, I'm talking about most of them who passed away in 1986, like Reb Moshe, like the Stipler Gaon, those kind of people, right? Yeah. They were, they were exemplary, and then such a drastic when they were gone, there was such a drastic change in the quality of leadership, where it's basically we're leaderless, except for a couple of years when we still had the Rebbe, like 5 years out, 19. Okay, so So basically, everyone unfortunately has their own examples of this, but it's useful to understand that this phenomenon too is connected to the Erev Rav issue we're discussing. Earlier, we saw the passage from the Vilna Gaon, where he stated that our sages said that in the period of Mashiach's footsteps, impudence will become great, and the Arab Rav will return to be the leaders of Israel. And here's a quote: "Let us make a name for ourselves." Right? Those are the tower builders who said that. Really, this shouldn't come as such a surprise, as making a name for themselves was one of the key Arab Rav traits, as set out both by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai in the Zohar and the Vilna Gaon. In his book Eitz Chaim, Rabbi Chaim Vital, the main student of the Arizal, warns us that one of the ways that the Arab Rav will try to make a name for themselves is by pursuing honorable positions in the Jewish religious world, right? And making a point of doing mitzvot in order to get kudos from others. Shkoyach, you know, they want to hear shkoyach. Right? So, all those that do kindness and toil. So this is a quote: "All those that do kindness and toil in the Torah, they do it only for themselves." Okay. Let me put that into context. I'm not sure why she put it like that. So we're talking about the Arab Rav who toil apparently in Torah. Okay, they do it only for themselves, and in particular, because of our many sins in our times, the Torah has been made into a hammer with which to do their own ends from many Baalei Torah who occupy themselves in the Torah in order to receive their reward and other benefits and luxuries, and in order to be in the group of heads of the yeshivot and judges in their court, so that their names and fame spread throughout the land. Okay, it's kind of this is very revealing how this quote used to be a secret. This was just circulated around the Torah leadership itself from Reb Chaim Vital. Okay, this was a kind of like what's the word? What would be an English word for Farbrengen? Where you're getting reality checks from your colleagues, right? Where just to keep you in line. So all the stuff that he just said in this quote, none of it was actually happening, okay? But on the level of these righteous, saintly people, the tzaddikim, right? They have their own standards completely, where, a sin to them would, we wouldn't even recognize it. You know what I mean? Like, they're so sensitive to the slightest possible, sin that sometimes, you would see one of them yelling at the other one, and it's totally baffling. Like, no one who's not one of these guys would understand what this poor guy did. You know what I mean? To get such a reprimand, right? So they're, the saintly people are on a completely different level. So this quote, it's just amazing to me. I mean, this quote was written from the saintliest of men about other saintly men, relative to like average people. Okay, and this is 500 years ago. Okay, unfortunately, everything that he said now is true about, in reality. It's not just like a reprimand to keep people in check. It's actually happened. Okay, so just back to the book. So if a leader is more interested in their salary, in the press cuttings or prestigious perks than the people that they are meant to be serving, or the Torah they are meant to be teaching, then a red flag should go up that we might not be dealing with a bona fide saintly person. Okay, Rabbi Vital tells us how we can spot who is the real deal. So here's his quote. In Pirkei Avot, Ethics of Our Fathers, chapter 6, verse 41, says, Rabbi Meir, Rabbi from the Talmud, Rabbi Meir said, "He who studies the Torah for its own sake, without ulterior motives, deserves many things, and not only that, but the whole world is indebted to him. And he is called beloved friend, loved by God and men. He pleases the Creator, and he pleases humanity. The Torah covers him with modesty and fear. It makes him virtuous, makes him merciful, devoted, just, and faithful, and moves him away from sin, guiding him by the path of virtue. The secrets of the Torah are revealed to him, and he is turned into an endless fountain of wisdom, and he becomes modest, patient, and forgiving of offenses. Actually, you could see that. I just recently saw an example of that in Tanakh, where when Shaul was just made king, right? When Samuel, he gathered all the people and to show, who the king would be, right? And then everybody agreed, but there were, even in the text, it says there were a couple of guys grumbling, right? Like, oh, this guy is going to save us, right? And he heard that. Shaul heard that, but he decided to ignore it. Because, why? Because when you begin to talk against the king publicly like that, right? That's an offense that may be punishable by death according to the law. So he pretended not to hear it so as to spare them. This is this is just it's a reflection of his great righteousness. But you with me, dude?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right. So when this isn't happening, by the way, all the stuff that we just read about how to spot the correct leader, right? So when this stuff isn't happening with the leaders in our neighborhood or communities, religious or otherwise, we notice that they are still impatient, arrogant, boorish, superficial, judgmental, highly critical of other people's flaws, right? We should make a mental note that while these individuals undoubtedly still have many good qualities, and maybe even an enormous amount of Torah learning, and also possibly a lot of good deeds under their belt, okay? There's still some spiritual work to do before we can safely assume that they're as altruistic, honest, and holy as we would like to believe. Here's Rabbi Nachman on how to spot false leaders. So, in the book of Rabbi Nachman's Wisdom, published by the Breslov Research Institute, in paragraph 126, Rabbi Nachman is quoted saying the following about false leaders in the time preceding the coming of Mashiach. So he says, the Talmud teaches us that the angels will chant, holy, 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 before the tzaddikim, just like they do before God. The tzaddikim who remain faithful before Mashiach's coming will deserve this and much more. So difficult will it be to remain firm in faith and not to be misled by everyone's mistaken beliefs in the pre-Messianic era. At that time, many who call themselves religious leaders will preach falsehood. There will remain some truly religious individuals, but they will be very widely scattered. Yeah. Okay. Back to the main text. Again, without belaboring the point, these passages should make it clear that the sages of the previous generations were warning us that the closer we get to Mashiach, the more brazen-faced and morally corrupt many of our leaders would become. So the assumption is often made that just because someone is in a position of leadership or influence, that they are above reproach and beyond moral scrutiny. But sadly, the opposite is often the case. In this time before Mashiach, many of our leaders will be false. So beware. We need to be very careful about who we place our trust in, who we ask for advice, and whose directives we follow, and to be sure that they meet the criteria of a true leader as set out by Rabbi Vital, namely that the secrets of the Torah are revealed to him, and he is turned into an endless fountain of wisdom, and he becomes modest, patient, and forgiving of offenses. Okay? While it's sometimes hard to tell if someone is truly wise or not, it's usually much easier to spot if they're patient, or if they're modest, and if they're forgiving. Right? That's easier to spot. Okay. Yeah. So now we got to chapter 5. Okay, and this is the point where we ended off last time. So everything we just read was kind of a review, and I leave it to you, Greg, if we should continue. And it looks very interesting because chapter 5 says how reincarnation solved the problem.
We should, but I got to tell you something before we do. the Ontario or Ottawa, is it the entire government? Ottawa may euthanize truckers' pets as punishment.
Yeah.
You heard about this, right?
Yeah, I heard about that this morning, where there's a warning.
These people, it says that they tweeted out, attention animal owners of demonstration. If you're unable to care for your animal as a result of enforcement actions, your animal will be placed into protective care for 8 days. 8 days at your cost. After 8 days of arrangements are not made, your animal will be considered relinquished. You know, it takes a specific kind of prick to like come up with this idea. You know, there's like a guy sitting in the administration. It's like, hey, let's. I have an idea. It's very specific.
Я хочу, чтобы Trudeau висел.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's Amalek, so you know it's proper. Adar.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one guy's like, oh, LOL at people saying they're going to kill these pets. Based on what? When people get arrested and they have pets with them, what usually happens? Literally this. I bet you people are fine when this happens to the unhoused all the damn time. God. Most of the replies saying as much are Americans and bots. Anyone who has worked with animal rescues here in Ontario can tell you how hard the rescues work to get pets out of shelters and into foster care. I do foster care. I'm American. I don't know what my country has to do with my love of animals. I'm not challenging you. I don't know what you mean. People don't live in Ontario, don't know how rescues work. I'm aware there are a lot of dogs in the U.S. in shelters, and that many are put down. It is not the same here. So they're basically saying that, like, it's not going to happen. But still, it's like,
Hopefully not, but, you know, I mean, you're talking about, like, you know, Canadians are nice.
Yeah.
You know, they have this reputation for being nice and kind, and accepting, and all that kind of stuff. But your country, Canadians, has been taken over by scum.
Yeah.
Scum of the earth. It's not a reflection of you. You were just dumb enough to elect this moron because he looks like because he's handsome or something like that.
Yeah. It's dude. I remember I told you this. I have a cousin in Canada, and he came to visit me here in New York, like whatever, in 2008. And he goes, I don't understand like why Americans are so. They get so worked up about politics, about debating about politics. You know, I watch these. He's like Fox News, CNN. He's like, I talk to your mother, and everybody's so worked up. Everybody gets so worked up. And I'm like, because there's a mentality here of like we fight for. You know, there's like issues to fight to you know, we have to resolve things. We fight for our rights.
You want to play Norm Macdonald for the folks at home?
Yeah, and now you see, the result in Canada. People just don't care. It's like, you know, if you don't care about the government's going to care about you. Not care about you, but, you know, if you don't focus on the government will focus on you. And not in the way that you want them to.
Yeah.
What do you want me to play? Oh, about the Canadian... The
clip I sent you about Norm Macdonald.
I mean, there's Canadian elections. I could play that.
Well, no, I mean, I don't know. The one I sent you wasn't titled. It was just like...
Oh. I could play just this one here.
Montreal, famous for a lot of things, you know. One of them being the greatest strip clubs in all of the world.
It's funny.
Yeah. Last night,
that's the part I cut out before I sent it to you.
Super sex?
Okay, let's fast forward.
United States.
Okay, hold on. Since the folks at home heard that, Norm Macdonald was like, you know, Montreal is famous for the apparently the best strip clubs in the world. Like, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
He's like, I went to club Super Sex. Very creative name, huh?
Yeah.
And he says, I chose the soup. Big mistake.
The soup.
Soup or set, right?
Yeah. All right, let me keep playing this.
Miss living in Canada during election time, especially. In Canada, this is the difference in elections in America and Canada, is elections in America mean something. You vote for the wrong motherfucker, the world blows up. I don't need that on my hands. Whereas Canada, it's always like, what's your view on the bridge?
Yeah.
I say keep it as it is. I don't think they need to clean that up. That's fine. It was easy when I was young to vote because it was simply, you just didn't vote for the French guy.
If only they stuck to that.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I almost feel like coming back this fall, just as an homage to my late father, and not vote for Trudeau.
Nice. Nice.
My dad did not like Trudeau. Trudeau was my hero, though. I loved him, And since I've come back, I've been watching the news, and I've been seeing Justin, And I thought, by God, this Justin kid, he must be brilliant because his father was Pierre Elliott Trudeau. But then I forgot. He's got a mother.
So his mother's like basically a dumbass, or what?
His mother is a dumb slut.
Is she?
No offense to dumb sluts.
How do you know you seen her speak?
I've just, I don't know. I know that she had interesting relationships with the Rolling Stones and such things, such people.
Interesting. Margaret Sinclair, formerly Kemper, Margaret Trudeau. Interesting.
These guys are all weirdos. Listen, this whole thing, that's the same idea that if you look at a picture of Pierre Elliott Trudeau,
yeah,
he doesn't look very much like Justin.
No,
if you look at a picture,
no.
And if you look at a picture of Fidel Castro, boy, does he look a lot like Justin.
Oh, big time. Big time. Yeah. It's interesting. Here. Yeah, she was a carefree flower child who was 30 years younger than he was. Wow. Interesting. 18-year-old vacationing with Tahiti with her family. Sinclair met Pierre Trudeau.
Creepy.
It's just weird. The whole thing is weird. But,
Trudeau had this I looked at a bunch of pictures of him,
Yeah.
and and they're not going to be necessarily looking for the most flattering pictures, but they're not going to demonize him because he was wildly popular with the media, right? So most of the pictures you're going to see on the internet are not of him, of somebody not trying to make him look worse than he is, and he looks like a creepy freak.
His mom.
He looks like this rat-faced,
does,
weasel-faced. No offense to rats and weasels, creepy freak.
His mom was kind of a smokestack when she was young, and she used to go to Studio 54. No, she was an attractive woman. She just used to go to Studio 54, and you know all about that place. What?
She was a free spirit.
Yeah, let's put it that way. Let's put it that way. Yeah, no, there's pictures of her in Studio 54 dancing with these, she's with, what's his face, the guy, Andy Warhol. It's interesting. It's interesting. Yeah, here's a picture of her with Prince Charles. Dude, she got around.
Yeah.
It's interesting. She really got around. If you know what I mean.
Yes.
That's
Now that we've established that she's gotten around, should we get back to the Torah?
Yeah, we should do that.
As Norm MacDonald would say, he goes, I don't want to put too fine an edge on this, but she got around.
Yeah.
All right.
Man. So it seems to me that like we're trying to figure. I'm trying to figure out who's the Nimrod of the whole thing.
Who's Nimrod?
Of the bunch. You know, who's the Nimrod of today? Is it
I'd
Schwab?
I'd say Schwab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Gates? Gates is kind of like.
It's not Gates because Gates sounds like a weenie. Nimrod, like he could speak in a convincing way.
Yeah.
That's why he was called the Great Hunter. He hunted people with his speaking ability. He was like a Hitler.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, crying, you know that. That's not my idea of a silver-tongued devil.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So, can I continue? Chapter 5?
Yes, please.
All right. How reincarnation solves the problems. Okay, the Erev Rav impasse. In the previous chapters, we've been exploring how the Arab Rav came to being, how they got attached to Am Yisrael, some of the enormous spiritual problems that they've been causing us, and how they typically behave, and how traditionally our sages have issued a number of dire warnings about the need to split ourselves off from them. Greg, we're going to have to find which episode we talked about this so we could link it.
It's 40. I found it.
40, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but as we also started to learn, there are some massive barriers to actually doing this, meaning from splitting off from the Arab Rav. Like, how do you get away from them?
Yeah.
It's practically impossible in our day and age to identify who the Arab Rav really are, as they could even be members of our own family, religious leaders, or people with apparently externally perfect lives and morals. If you were reading the list of negative character traits carefully, you may also have spotted another huge problem with what we've currently set out vis-a-vis how to identify and deal with the Erev Rav, and which brings us to the fifth secret of the Erev Rav. Today, most of us have at least a few of the Erev Rav traits too. Okay, while we were reading all those categories and lists, right? You know, I'm sure a lot of people listening to this would have been like, well, gosh, like, am I an Erev Rav? You know, because it's like it's just listing all the negative traits of a human, and everybody has that. Okay, so does this mean, back to the text, does that mean that everybody who has some of the Erev Rav traits is actually Erev Rav, or is it something else actually going on here? Okay, so the rest of the book will be devoted to answering these questions and sharing more of the secrets of the Erev Rav. Before we continue, let us set out the problem clearly. It is impossible for us to know who is Erev Rav and who isn't. Today, almost all of us have at least some of these traits typically identified as belonging to the Erev Rav. If we can't identify who the real Erev Rav are in our midst, we certainly can't split off from them or stay away from them. Even if we had 100% clarity that some of the people we know are bona fide Arab Rav, if those people were our close family members or friends, we would probably still find it almost impossible to split off from them. Okay? Which is probably why the Arab Rav have continued to pose such an enormous spiritual problem to Am Yisrael, as it appears that we really can't win. But now we've reached the sixth secret of the Arab Rav that's about to change the whole picture. The sixth secret of the Arab Rav is that there are no true 100% Arab Rav souls today. Each and every Jewish soul is a composite of many different soul sparks. And some of those sparks are from the Erev Rav. To understand what's really going on today, we first have to learn a little bit more about the principles of Jewish reincarnation. And then maybe Greg could stop chatting with someone.
Yeah. I was responding to my sister about what's going on in Israel in terms of 80% of serious cases in hospital being vaxxed.
I'm sure it was very important, Greg.
Yeah.
Okay. Watch, the typing continues in a second. Okay.
No.
Okay. Fine, if you're going to type, I'm going to have popcorn.
Perfect.
All right. And then later, okay. Now, to understand what's really going on today, we first have to learn a little bit more about the principles of Jewish reincarnation. And then later, dip into one of the most important teachings of the famous Hasidic master, Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. Okay, here's the Jewish concept of reincarnation. In recent times, there have been a great deal of confusion in the Jewish world as to whether the concept of reincarnation applies to Jews, or is it even a Jewish idea. Most people are aware of the basic principle of reincarnation as taught by the Eastern religions, namely that the spiritual soul is incarnated into different physical body again and again in order to give it the opportunity to work on and fix issues and character traits that it failed to rectify in its previous incarnations. Okay, that's the mainstream non-Jewish view of reincarnation, but as you might expect, Judaism has a great deal more to say on the subject. But before we get into the technical details, be assured that reincarnation is a fundamental tenet of the Jewish faith. So much so that in the Hamapil prayer that we traditionally recite before saying the bedtime Shema, we say, quote, "Forgive anyone who angered or antagonized us or sinned against us, whether deliberately or in thought alone, whether in this reincarnation or another reincarnation." This prayer can be found in every Orthodox Jewish prayer book in the whole world. So reincarnation is accepted in the mainstream Orthodox Jewish world, although not everyone is aware of this. You know, I wouldn't have used that example. Yibum is a better example, isn't it?
Yeah.
The whole idea of the levirate marriage, where if God forbid, you have a guy who got married and he passed away without having a child. So there's this idea that the brother of marrying age should marry, if he's not married, if he's available to be married, should marry the widow of his brother. And in doing so, their child, their offspring, would be the soul of the brother who died before having a child. So it's like bringing the soul back, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not exactly reincarnation, but it kind of is. But anyway.
Yeah.
Now, but back to the text. Okay. In his excellent book, Return Again, published by Devora Publishing, Rabbi Avraham Aryeh Trugman. Hey, Trugman, that's the Trugmans. He explains that among Torah scholars in our day, there's no opposition to the teachings of reincarnation. Hasidic teachings are replete with references to it, and even the Vilna Gaon, who himself authored a number of important Kabbalistic commentaries, acknowledges its existence openly. In the reference section at the back of this book, you'll find more suggestions on books to further your knowledge of Jewish reincarnation if you'd like to learn more. Okay, so I thought, can I quickly explain the Jewish concept of reincarnation? She doesn't look like she's going to get into it.
Yeah.
So the Jewish soul is kind of like, let's compare it, metaphorically speaking, to like a geometric object with many sides. You know, something like a soccer ball. You know, or like a finely cut diamond with many facets, a bead, a gem with many facets.
Yeah.
Okay. Each facet is a person, right? Like right now, you're going to go on the street, you're going to look out, you're going to see people. Each person is a facet of a much larger soul. Okay?
Yeah.
So it's the facet that is brought into this world. Okay? It lives and then it goes back up. Okay? Now, when that soul returns back to this world, it presents a different facet.
Yeah.
It's never the same facet twice. So it's not reincarnation it's not full reincarnation. Okay? You're not actually getting the same exact person. You're getting the same general soul, but a different aspect of it. Okay. So, moving on in the text. Okay. The 5 parts of the Jewish soul. Until the Arizal, the father of modern Kabbalah, appeared on the scene in the 16th century, our understanding of the mechanism of reincarnation, for the most part, had been lost or forgotten partially as a result of our long exile. It's not really true, but okay. Partially due to external pressures from the other monotheistic world religions. Right. So that is slightly true. Yeah. For instance, like the Sadya Gaon, he famously came out against reincarnation. And he was pressured to do so by the Muslims because it was very unpopular in Islam. Yeah. Okay? And so he had to essentially come out and make a true statement, but without explaining important details. Like, he came out against reincarnation, but he came out, he was against full reincarnation, which is not a Jewish idea. Yeah. Okay? The actual Jewish view on reincarnation, he just didn't mention it. Yeah. And it was a Kabbalistic idea anyway, and it was circulated around just the top scholars, because most people, they wouldn't get it. Okay. Now, with the emergence of the Arizal, the Jewish concept of reincarnation was, they started talking about it again, okay? Yeah. And eventually it reclaimed its original place in Jewish thought, in the minds of most of even the average Jew. In contrast, the Eastern traditions that teach that the same soul gets reincarnated again and again, and which generally, they don't talk about God being part of the reincarnation picture at all. It's the Eastern religions, right? Yeah. The Arizal taught that each Jewish soul is made up of 5 different parts or levels which are called in descending order. Yeah. The Yechida, okay, the Chaya, the Neshama, the Ruach, and then the Nefesh. Okay, so the first two of these soul parts, the Yechida and the Chaya, are kept tucked away in the heavenly realms. Okay, they're still attached to a person, and they can still influence them, but crucially, the person's bad actions and negative behavior can't tarnish or sully these most sublime aspects of the soul. Okay, you can picture this concept as a sort of spiritual one-way mirror, where these upper levels of the soul can see and influence the person they belong to, but usually not vice versa. Mm-hmm. So they have access to us, but we don't. These parts of our soul have access to us, but we don't have access consciously to them. Okay, they will still benefit. They will still benefit from and participate in that person's good deeds, but they can't be harmed or destroyed by their bad deeds. In some ways, they are our collective soul that belongs to Am Yisrael, and also the part of our soul that is 100% rooted in the spiritual realms. Yeah. Greg, can you type quieter?
Yes,
So,
I can.
Mad loud. Okay, and which I don't mind. I'm worried it's going to get.
I'm happy loud.
Okay, and which isn't? Are you typing angry, Greg? Don't type angry.
No, it's not angry. It's not angry.
Okay. Remember Groundhog Day?
Groundhog Day? What about it?
So Bill Murray, this is like when he gets crazy, right? Yeah. And he's trying to kill himself, so he steals the groundhog, steals a police car or something like that, and then you see like the groundhog is sitting on his lap, with its paws on the wheel, and he's like, "Don't drive angry."
Yeah.
You recall that? Did you ever see Groundhog Day?
I did. I didn't remember the that part though.
Don't drive angry, Greg. Okay.
I just saw a quote from what's his name, Warren Buffett. Those who cannot control their emotions cannot control their money.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Listen, being a evil, rich douchebag, okay, being the rich part has nothing to do with it. Just being an evil, rich douchebag. Yeah. Okay? Doesn't mean you don't know anything. Right? Yeah. Okay.
Oh, of course.
So you can, okay. Yeah. Okay, so these most sublime aspects of the soul they're really the collective soul of Am Yisrael.
Yeah.
It's 100% rooted in the spiritual realms, which is affected by the world, but isn't affected by the worlds of materialism and corruption. That's not really exactly accurate what she's saying. The Yechida and the Chaya are, especially the Yechida, is completely rooted in the essence of God. Okay, so it is. That's the point in which there is no distinction between us and God consciously at all. Mm-hmm. Okay, between anything and God, really, but okay. So I guess that's what she means by the spiritual realms, because whatever, it's a little bit inaccurate, but it's fine. Now, so the real work that happens in this world mainly involves the other three parts of the soul as follows. Level 1 soul is called the nefesh. In Hebrew, or in English, it would be the life force soul. Okay, you get this level of soul as soon as you're born, and it's the soul that's responsible for what's often described as the life force or the will to live. Right, your will to your instinct to survive is rooted in this soul. Biologically, it's associated with the so-called primitive brain functions, including eating, sleeping, breathing, procreating, anything else associated with the basic notion of survival and staying alive. The level 2 soul is called the Ruach in Hebrew, or the spirit, or the wind. This is a soul level that's associated with your emotions and feelings, and psychologically it's connected to the emotional brain, or the limbic system. The brain's limbic system is responsible for things like perception, your subjective feeling of experiences. It's the part that tells you whether you think something is good or bad, whether it's nice or not nice, or scary or reassuring, dangerous or safe. Okay. Level 3, the soul, this is called the neshama. In Hebrew, it's the divine soul. This soul is the bit of you that only wants to do good, that only wants to stay close to God, that only wants world peace, good relationships with everybody, and an end to suffering and starvation in the world. It's usually associated with a person's intellect or mind, particularly the neocortex or frontal lobes of the brain. You can learn more about the link between human physiology and the human soul and how they both mirror each other in Appendix 1 at the back of the book. That's interesting. Okay. Now, so far so good. Great. Because it's about to get even more complicated. Each one of these five soul levels contains 5 levels. Okay? To make a total of 25. Okay? For example, before even the basic soul level of nefesh can be considered to be truly fixed or rectified, spiritually speaking, a person will have to go through each of the 5 different souls levels in that it contains, okay, fixing each one as they go. So it's the idea of like you have, okay, so the nefesh is the lowest level of soul, right? So you have 5 levels in the nefesh. Okay, you have the nefesh of the nefesh, you have the ruach of the nefesh, you have the neshama of the nefesh, you have the chaya of the nefesh, and then the yechida of the nefesh. Once you rectify all those aspects of the nefesh, then you start in on the ruach. And of course, it would be like the nefesh of the ruach. The nefesh of the ruach of the ruach, and so on and so forth. It's a pattern, just continues up like that. Okay, so second. Okay, as our sages teach, that it's easier to learn the whole of the Talmud in some ways than to fix even one bad character trait. We can see how we've really got our work cut out for us. We can't skip levels, and we have to rectify them in order working from the level of nefesh on up. Once again, this is a very simplified version of the ideas explained by the Arizal, but it gives us the basic framework of Jewish reincarnation. Okay, it's good enough for our purposes here.
Yeah.
Okay. No one can fix everything in one go. So these days, it's impossible to blast through all the required rectifications in one go, meaning in one lifetime. So it's considered good going spiritually if you manage to fix just one of these 25 soul levels in any given lifetime. Okay? Although exceptional people can do more. If you fix one level, then you are given life experiences, circumstances, and personality characteristics in your next life that will help you to work on the next level up. As long as you're making the effort, doing the work, and moving in the right direction, even if you haven't actually completed the job, God will give you, He'll give you up to 1,000 more lifetimes to finish what you start.
Do you know what I always wonder? I don't even know how to put this into words, but I'm going to do my best. Okay, you know they say we don't remember our past lives, right?
Right.
But why are we... How should I put this? We're conscious of our lives in this life. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No.
Like, what's to say that I don't know how to put this into words. Like, how do I know I've lived past lives? That, like, people tell me I don't remember my past lives, right? Maybe I lived a few of them, whatever it is. How do I know? Let's say I'm going to get another life, but I'm very conscious in this one of the one that I have now. You know what I mean?
So.
Or do you want to say that I was conscious of every life that I lived, and it's like Men in Black, where like basically when I leave this world, it's going to be a Men in Black thing, and if I have to come back, I'm conscious of it now. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I think I just want to make sure that, like, what I'm about to say, I can clearly distinguish what I've learned and what my speculation is. That's what I'm trying to figure out the wording.
Like, where do we get memory from? That's the question. And where do we get consciousness from? Where do we get... There's always this question I've had. I've never been able to put words to it. How did my neshama choose to go into the me that is me? How did my consciousness choose to go into the me that is me? You understand what I'm asking?
It didn't.
Okay.
It actually fought it kicking and screaming.
No. But you know what I mean. Like, we're told that we choose our parents, this, that, and the other. It fought it kicking and screaming. But why was it allocated?
I heard this myself.
Why was it allocated to this guy named Tzvi? What made this particular soul allocated to this guy named Tzvi with his, I don't know, genetics, intellect based, taken from his parents, physical genetics, whatever it is?
No.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying, and I think that your perspective is skewed.
No, I'm not. I'm just don't know how to ask the question correctly. It's very difficult for me to ask the question.
So let me.
Why am I me? Is the question. Why am I me? That's the question.
Why? Okay, so that's what I'd like to try to answer.
Yeah.
Hopefully, with not hubris, just kind of.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So there was no tzvi on its own that a soul decided to join to.
Correct.
Okay. So your consciousness, your primary consciousness, is something that is undefined even beyond the soul. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Your consciousness is rooted in the essence of God.
Mm-hmm.
It's beyond description, beyond anything. A soul and everything else about you is something that pertains to you. It is of you, but it is not you.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, everything that was given to you is a tool, okay, to fulfill God's will. Okay? That being said, let's just, that's a very, very, that's you, but not expressed in the creation. We're talking about your origins beyond the creation.
That's exactly what I'm asking, and I don't even know. I don't even have the language to ask what I'm like thinking about. Do you understand what I mean?
Listen, yeah. Listen. Let's go backwards, okay?
Yeah.
So let's start with your body, right? You and your body. So if I were to say to you, who are you? What are you? Most people would point to their chest or whatever. Yeah. And then they're like, no, that's your chest. That's not you. Then the next step usually is, no, what are you? Then somebody would point to their head, like meaning, oh, that's where my thoughts are. That's what you mean, right? Nope, that's your head. Oh, you mean my mind? Nope, that's your mind. You mean my soul? Nope, that's your soul. So on and so forth. Just go through that whole process. So what are you? Yeah. You are what all those things pertain to. Okay? There's no word. Look, you know how we say the Ein Sof, right? When we talk about God. Yeah?
Yeah, sure.
So the Ein Sof, and Rabbi Bax taught this classically. He said that the Ein Sof, meaning the eternal, right? That's not a word which is describing God. Because eternal, that's still a description, isn't it? Right? So how could we use a word like that? We're not allowed to. God is beyond description. So how do we even use any words at all? Yeah. Even a word like the eternal.
Yeah.
Right? It's almost idolatry to even use any word. Okay? So what does it mean, the Ein Sof? Yeah. It's not a reference to God.
Yeah.
It's a reference to our infinitely futile attempts to define God. It's almost like it's like an instinct that we can't stop. It's like what's the word? Like when you have an activity that you can't help doing. It's a compulsion.
Yeah.
Right? It's a compulsive behavior that is that's part of the human condition, where when we're told we can't define something, it's like we can't accept it.
Yeah.
So you still keep trying,
Yeah.
It's like saying your hand is not the tool which is proper for grasping that object. But you still try anyway for some reason. It doesn't make any sense. It's similar to grasping at straws, that kind of thing. Okay? It's a behavior that doesn't make any sense, but at the same time, it's a very deep part of us. Okay? So that's really what the Ein Sof kind of it's one of the things that the Ein Sof means. Okay?
Yeah.
Because of course it can't be a reference to God. Nothing is. Yeah. Nothing. Okay? So in that sense, we're like that too, because we're rooted in that aspect of God that's undefinable. Mm-hmm. That's where we're from.
Yeah.
That's who we are. Okay? And everything that we can talk about that pertains to us, yeah. That's just it. It pertains to us. It's not us, though. Okay? Your characteristics are not you.
Yeah, for sure not.
Your money isn't you. Your body isn't you. Your car isn't you. None of that is you. And that's why this idea of like love and family, just like whatever, it's not something that's really understood. Because why do you love that person?
Yeah.
They're obnoxious. They give you nothing but pain. But yet you love them and you can't live without them.
Yeah.
You don't want to. Right? That's because it's rooted in that undefinable, beyond the creation root where we're all from.
Yeah.
Because that is you. Because that person that's making you miserable is not something else besides you. It's you.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So that's the best I can offer.
That wasn't. I mean, kind of wasn't my question, but.
So why did that undefinable part of you end up in this particular body with your particular soul and mind and all that kind of stuff?
It's not only why, it's how is it that my mind's, if this makes any sense, I'm just using language that I have. I don't have any other language to ask this question. Mm-hmm. How is it that my mind's eye or my viewfinder or my VR lens ended up attached to my neshama, which is encased in my body? Where did I get my VR lens from? Do you understand my question?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's your mind.
Again, it's like.
Okay, so let me try. Okay,
where did I mean? I understand my consciousness I got from Hashem, but why? How was it that it was decided that it came into this body with this story and from these, this people that have their own body and their own, whatever it is. And you could say like tikkunim, this and that and the other. Okay. But my mind's eye could have been put in a different neshama altogether. Yeah. You understand what I mean?
Right. Correct. Okay. So your mind's eye, right?
Yeah.
Your mind. Let's just start with your mind.
I don't mean mind. You know what you know what I mean. I don't. When I say mind, I don't mean mind.
Okay. So again, what you're referring to,
my consciousness is I. I don't know. I like the language.
Generally, the language that's used is the observer.
Yeah.
Who's the observer?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's that that's that the Yehida part of you, that beyond part of you.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Yeah.
That's who's looking at everything.
That's fine. So now the question is, how did Hashem match the Yehida part of me with the
rest of it.
whatever you call a neshama, whatever you call all these different quote unquote spiritual components, then decide that this whole mechanism with all its nuts and bolts is going to go into this physical thing that I created a bunch of these 8 billion physical things to exist on this orb.
Dude, I got you. I got you.
Sorry, I'm just really trying to.
No. Yeah. No. I'm I'm saying I got you as in I'm ready to answer.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I'll take care of you.
Yeah.
I got you.
What are you, Allstate? You don't go hands. You don't go hands with Allstate.
There's some skit where I don't know. There's like two black actors, comedians. They're in a hotel room, and one of them's like he went into a mini bar, and he's like drinking. He goes, dude, man, those are like $5 those are like $10 a bottle. And the guy's like, I got you. You know what I mean? And then you see him refilling the water bottle from the tap, trying to sneak it back into the. Anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
Greg is either I've lost my ability to be funny, or Greg has lost his sense of humor.
Can you repeat what you said? I'm sorry.
I fear that it wasn't funny. So
no, it probably was. Can you just repeat it?
Picture this.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot their names. Oh yeah, one of them is an actor called Paige Kennedy. I told you about him.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other actor was a dude from a show. I think it might have been New Girl. Okay, Winston from New Girl.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so Page Kennedy came to visit Winston, let's say, at his hotel room, and he's sitting there, and Winston sees him drinking a bottle of Poland Spring that he got from the minibar, and he's like, "Dude, those are like $9 a bottle, man." And then Page Kennedy, he's like drinking the water. He goes, "I got you. Don't worry about it. I got you." Right? And then the next thing you see him filling up the water bottle from the tap and trying to sneak it back in. That's how he got him, right?
That's hilarious.
That's him taking care of his friend.
Yeah, that's nice. That's real nice of him.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm gonna do. That's not what I'm gonna do for you, Greg.
Mm-hmm.
All right, for you, I really got you. Okay, what was the question? Just kidding. All right, let's see. The stuff that you were paired with, okay? You, the unknowable, undefinable you, right?
Yeah.
You were paired with soul, with a mind, with a body. All of those things, all of them, okay, are not residue, but you heard of the Shfirat Kalim, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's the pre-Genesis universes that all were destroyed in massive cataclysms. Okay? So the material that was of those destroyed universes, right, needs to be rectified, needs to be rebuilt and reconfigured. That material itself is different levels of consciousness. Okay? Remember we talked about Adam, like the way God created Adam? He gathered the earth, right? Like he took the earth.
Yeah.
That earth that he took was... Okay, let me just really explain this, all right? Imagine this. Think about every consciousness, every being, every living conscious entity that God ever created.
Can I stop you for a second? When you said imagine this, I thought of Don Rickles when he says, "I'll tell you this." Anyway, go on.
I'll tell you this.
You imagine Don Rickles? Can you imagine Don Rickles as a Kabbalist? I'll tell you this. Shvirat HaKelim.
Zeron pin.
He was probably sucking sand. No, he was probably his like great grandfather was probably like a funny Kabbalist or something. You know, like whipping off lines like every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Anyway,
he said his father came to America from Russia with a stick of dynamite and a picture of Stalin in his pants. Makes no sense whatsoever. His father was not a communist at all.
I'm just imagining that image.
It was just a simple Russian connection, you know? He went to Russia.
Yes.
I remember that, you know, they used to call, you know, as soon as they found out you're Russian, like, oh, you're a commie.
Yeah, same. I had the same thing.
Okay.
Anyway.
Now picture this.
Yeah, I'll tell you this.
Imagine the wheel.
Imagine
the
what?
first universe that God created, the first, like, you know, the trillion, the 10 to the trillion exponent. You know, universes that go.
Yeah.
Okay? There were consciousnesses there. Proto-consciousnesses, okay? Souls, proto-souls. Imagine each one of them as a beautiful crystal. Okay? Just pick it allegorically. I'm not saying the souls are crystals, okay?
Yeah.
Just metaphorically. Use your metaphor.
Yeah.
Muscle. And then in the cataclysm, they were smashed.
Yeah.
Into fine, you know, particles. Okay, like you know, sucking sand. You know.
Yeah.
Like everybody really was sucking sand. You know, during these cataclysms. Okay.
Yeah. Walla.
So now so each little grain of sand is a spark, a little tiny fragment of these consciousnesses that existed. So each little grain itself is a type of consciousness. Okay? Now if you can picture the infinite amount of different consciousnesses that existed during this whole process, by the time we got to our universe, when God was creating it 6,000 years ago, okay? He he created Adam and his many layers, including his body.
Yeah.
Okay? From these consciousnesses. Okay? So the more refined of these, and all these consciousnesses, these grains of sand, right?
Yeah.
They didn't all come on the same, there was a spectrum.
Yeah.
Okay? Some were more refined and some were less refined. So the more refined aspects of these consciousnesses became the most refined, let's say, became the neshama.
Yeah.
Okay, that's you in the world of Beriah. The word neshama is you. There's a Greg in the world of Beriah. That's your neshama.
Yeah.
Okay, slightly less refined, or maybe significantly less refined consciousness is you in the world of Yetzirah. Okay, that would be your Ruach. Okay?
Yeah.
And then even less refined is your Nefesh. And the least refined of all is the material that your body is made out of.
Mm-hmm.
And your mind comes from all of these levels in a certain way. Summer, get your head out of the popcorn. Okay. All right. Your mind is not even you, by the way. That's why it's a little bit difficult. Your mind is really just it's a fractal of Satan.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's mind is. Now, your mind was paired with you. Okay?
Yeah.
Because Satan himself is part of these destroyed particles of consciousnesses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And that have to be elevated.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So our struggle with him, God put him with us as we struggle, as we grapple with the Satan, which is our evil inclination. Everybody has an evil inclination. Okay? God paired it with us so we can grapple with him. Okay? And we only have free will because God paired us with the evil inclination. He's the free will department. That's what people don't understand.
Yeah.
With no Satan, no free will. Okay?
Yeah.
So because you have to have choices. Okay? You need to have bad choices too.
Yeah.
So does that answer your question? And why were you paired with these particular with this spectrum of material, right? Starting from your soul all the way down to your body.
Yeah.
Why are you paired with it? Because that your mind's eye, that undefinable you, is best suited to elevate and to use that material that you're paired with.
So
somehow.
So that's what I'm saying.
Suited.
How was that decided? Based on what? And based on and also on top of that, how is it decided, or is it decided that my consciousness would even have the wherewithal to ask the question? It's almost like a computer asking the question of its own consciousness. Do you know what I mean? Like, some people are not, as we've seen during COVID, some people are not even asking the question. Some Jewish people who are quote unquote praying and davening and learning and davening are not even asking that question. And then there's other people who are not Jewish, or other people who are like, let's say Jewish and not keeping Torah mitzvahs are asking that question in their own way. So how is it even determined who's going to ask that question and who is not? You know what I mean?
Well, okay, so you never know who's asking that question. You never know who has asked that question before, come up with nothing, and realize
and
that
moved on.
It's a waste of time.
Yeah.
And let me just do the work that I know I need to do, and then perhaps the answer will be the question will be answered at some point in the future. I would say most religious Jewish people have asked that question.
I'm not talking about religious people. I'm talking about like just human beings on planet Earth.
Yeah.
It just seems like people are not.
I think everybody asks that question on some level.
Yeah.
At some point in their life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Most people just don't get an answer because they don't even have the tools to.
And even people who are in the vicinity of the answer still don't necessarily know how to find it.
Yeah. Okay. Or maybe they're afraid to find it. Like, again, like you talk to like some of these frum people, they're like, oh, mumbo jumbo, I feel like they're just afraid. It's a fear.
There are souls that are they're uncomfortable with these ideas and these questions, and on that level, there are actually rabbis who talk about the reason for the mitzvot, right?
Yeah.
They're the rabbis who they kind of discuss. Is it important to know the reason that you're doing mitzvah, or just the obedience and the carrying out of the mitzvah itself? Does that do does that have the effect, the metaphysical effect that it needs to have?
Yeah.
Okay, so the answer is yes. It does have the metaphysical effect. It's simple faith, paired with obedience. That's enough, and that's where most people they kind of in the religious Jewish world that's where they want to stay. Okay, and that's fine. That's fine. Okay, because going beyond that is beyond frustrating, as we both know. Okay, in some ways, I greatly covet the state of mind that these people have. This simple faith paired with obedience, and they don't want to go. Their life is less complicated.
Yeah.
Okay, they go about their job. They feel content with the idea of knowing that they're doing what God wants them to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like people like us, we always need to. I don't know why. I always, even before I was like Shomer Shabbat and all these things, I always needed to know what effect.
It has something to do with with everybody has a spiritual origin.
Yeah.
Okay, so in Adam.
Yeah.
In Adam.
Yeah.
Adam Harishon.
Yeah.
Okay, for the folks at home, Adam Harishon is the human oversoul of all humanity.
Yeah.
Every one of us is part of his consciousness. Every one of us is part of the quote body of his consciousness. Okay, if you can picture the consciousness in the shape of a body, of a human body, let's say, right? So remember, there's a spiritual correlation to every part of the body to the soul.
Yeah.
Okay? There's the head of the soul, the foot of the soul, the pinky, nail of the soul. Everything that you see on yourself, the soul, your soul looks like that. And scaling that up to the oversoul of mankind, Adam Harishon, Adam, okay?
Yeah.
Each one of us comes from a place in that body of his. Okay? That metaphorical body of his. Okay? Relax, Christians. Okay? So, so those who, let's say, are from this. Now, this part is my speculation. Everything that I just said before I actually learned that. This part, I'm not exactly sure. But we can just kind of suspend disbelief for a moment. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that the people who are curious about everything, and they need, they come from the mind, they come from the brain of Adam.
Yeah.
Other people come from the heart of Adam, maybe like the people of simple faith.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Okay? But remember, there's people from the skin of Adam. Right? There's people on the heel of Adam. In some ways, this entire generation is part of Adam's heel, right?
Yeah.
But remember, each part, quote unquote body part, is fractal in its nature. So the heel has levels in itself. Who are you, from the head of the heel or from the heel of the heel? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's it's almost infinite amount of layers of stuff like that. So you have to know where you are from spiritually, where is your origin in this construct called Adam? Okay? And also, where is your origin? Because remember, Adam's body was formed, right? We read about it. Right? Yeah. From that earth. Where is that earth from? That piece of earth that became Adam's earlobe. Where is that from? What previous universes? What residue of consciousnesses was that from? That is being rectified by being part of Adam's body. Yeah, it's staggering. The infinity of this question that you're asking.
Yeah, that's the problem, man. This is the problem. And the thing that's been frustrating for me, I guess pretty much since I can remember having my consciousness, which is probably 4 years old. You know that even, this is going to sound crazy, man, but even when I was a little kid, I intuitively had these questions in my gut. But again, I didn't have, at that time, I especially didn't have the language to know how to ask them. Or even you're a little kid in the Soviet Union, so who are you going to ask?
I was lucky in some respect. Okay. Because I also had these ideas, these thoughts when I was a little kid. Yeah. But I had the vessels of science fiction of the 80s.
Dude, I had nothing. I had literally nothing. I had much nothing. I had maybe my father later, when I was 10 or, when I was 11, 12 years old, who was an IT person, but I had ultimately nothing to grasp and no one to ask and no one, I just had these, feelings okay, I'm from some other realm. A lot of it was me thinking I'm from some other realm, because I remember actually, I remember being in the park or something, right? Whether it was in Ukraine or even here in school. And I remember that I was very, I was more conscious of what was going on around me than most kids. Not only that, when I would see a kid, I didn't understand kids who were rambunctious, or mean, like a kid who's mean just for, a lot of some of these kids, you meet adults that they're very nice, but as kids that their parents joke, oh, you were a mean little kid, or you were a crazy little kid, or you were you used to hit kids or whatever. I remember as a kid, I didn't understand why kids did that. I didn't understand why people did anything bad. You know what I mean? And I always thought it was I always thought it was a childish notion to have, but as I get older, I'm still of that mindset. I don't understand why people are compelled. I know why, obviously, if Kabbalah can explain it, whatever it is, but ultimately it explains the mechanism, it doesn't explain the why. Why the hell are people still compelled? And the same people that actually go up on stage, on a podium, or wherever they go, talking about how they, and it could even be a right-wing person, how they want to do good, and how this needs to be fixed, and that needs to be fixed. Everything needs to be fixed. They're right. It does. And then you look at them and you're like, well, mother flipper, it would be fixed if you would not do the things that you're doing. It's kind of I have a friend, and he doesn't understand. He's also he grew up in the old city. He's one of these guys, he goes, tell me about Ukraine and Russia. And I'm like, well, Russia, wants this and that and the other. And then he goes to me, well, how about Russia just not do these things, and then they won't get sanctioned, and then they won't be able. Then they won't retaliate and won't lead to war. The reason Russia's retaliating is because they're getting sanctioned. Why are they getting sanctioned? Because they're behaving in a certain way. And he's like, how about just not behaving that way? He asked me, and I'm like, dude. And then I was like, in a Dr. Evil voice, how about no, Scott?
How about no?
Like evil gonna evil.
You crazy Dutch bastard.
But but that's a question I have as well. It's like the guy. It's like Michael Scott. Why are you the way that you are? Why do they need to do this? Why do they need to do this? What is it? They know they're gonna die someday. So what? Squeeze the maximum, whatever, out of life, and by pardon my language, by fucking everybody.
So is this a question or is it a rhetorical question?
No, it's not rhetorical. I always wondered this. I always wondered why people feel the need to just be scumbags, and it's almost as if they don't even realize that there's some of these people actually think, like they say about Hitler, he thought he was doing good, and I'm not even talking about the people who are Hitler level. I'm just talking about like everyday people who are just kind of like doing not right by you, thinking that they're doing right by themselves, or thinking that they're being, that what they're doing is just.
Here's how Kabbalah explains it. Yeah. Okay, extremely potent spiritual energy in a vessel which cannot handle it.
Okay.
That's how evil people are defined, explained. Lavan, Esav,
so what does that
Nimrod,
so what does that
all these people, okay. Hold on, all these people came from the highest levels of the Olam HaTohu. Yeah. And the energy, the spiritual energy, the holy spiritual energy, the origin of their souls is from an infinitely higher place.
Here's my question. Why did Hashem feel the need to do that or have that dynamic? How does that serve him?
So basically, here's remember that whole thing about a partner in creation?
Yeah.
Okay, so instead of just building the world perfect the way that he wanted it, he created the raw material, right, for us to use to build that world that he wants. That way, he created a mechanism, a system for us to follow in order to build the world that he wants us to build. Therefore, we get a share in it. We feel deserving of it because we played a major role in its construction. Okay? So that's the way that he did it. What he created these pre-Genesis universes. Okay? So he paired this unwieldy, insanely potent holy light, these are all metaphors, okay? Yeah. And he channeled them through vessels which could not contain it. Okay? So shattered vessels, broken vessels. So when you see an evil person, you're seeing a broken vessel wielding energy that is very intense, that it can't hold it correctly. It's just kind of like, it's like imagine a fire hose, right? That with the water pressure that's so intense that they can't hold it, so it's like flopping all over the place.
Can I just say, I'm not even referring. I mean, evil people included, but I'm not even referring necessarily to evil people. I'm talking about people who just like, it's almost like they can't help themselves but to have moments where they're behaving in a not savory way.
That's the general, that's the principle
that
is applied. So the most evil have the most intense expression of this principle. Yeah. The people who do just evil stuff occasionally, so they have these moments in their life.
Yeah. Or just people who are like, who are like mean. Dude, you realize that like somebody like me, I mean, I'm not the only one like this, where I'm in this world, and you probably had this too. Over the years, we build up an anger inside of us And all that is, it's not like we're like naturally angry people. It's not like we're like, walking around wanting to burn the world. That anger is like a reaction to the world. Like, dude, you know that I remember like at a certain point I built up such an anger, I would like lash out at stuff because I would just like, and I would wonder like, why are people okay with stuff around them? Why are people okay with like seeing what they're seeing in front of them? Whether it's like they turn on like CNBC or they turn on, I don't know, the news or something or whatever it is, or like
fear and helplessness. That's right.
No, they're just like okay with it. They're just like, why do you have to? I have like friends like, why do you have to be a party pooper? Why do you have to be a? Oh man, that's really heavy stuff, man. Why do you talk about?
But here's what they're really saying.
And I'm just like,
no, hold on. But here's what they're really saying. They're saying, why are you bothering me with stuff that is terrifying to look at, depressing, and that I can't do nothing about? I'm trying to zone out, and you're not letting me.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying. So now you know.
No, I get all that. It's just like, I don't understand well, I wish I could do what they do and just like numb myself. But I can't because I'm too damn, dude, I'm like a, what do they call it? Star children? I'm not from this planet, bro.
Dude.
I'm not
That's exactly what they want you to do. Numb yourself.
I'm not from
Leave me alone. Yeah. Leave me alone with your damn star childness. Okay? Go into the stars.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get through this life. Yeah. I just want to enjoy the TV program that I'm watching. Yeah. It's stupid. It's mind-numbing. That's exactly where I want to be. It's like Cypher from The Matrix.
Yeah.
Okay? That's it. All right? So, and they have a point. They do. Okay? I think it's too hard. It's too crazy what God did. It's too crazy.
You know what, man? I think that from the age of, I would say 20, I guess 3 or 22 until 30, I managed to somehow put myself in that mode. And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that I was just trying to kind of finish college, and a psychiatrist gave me, ADD medication. And I think the ADD.
I'm grateful for ADD medication.
No, so I think in my case the ADD medication allowed me to just to kind of ignore the BS and just focus on kind of what I need to do, and not I saw the stuff around me, but I didn't really care, and I even kind of participated, you could say. You know what I mean?
No.
Winter Music Conference, traveling, basically.
What was inherently wrong that you saw during that time, which
not just what I saw, what I participated
in. In like what?
With opposite sex, whatever, And it was,
that's neither here nor there.
No, it's not. But you know what I mean. Like
I'm kidding.
Not just opposite sex. Like I was just basically. I knew, for example, I worked on Wall Street, and I knew that there was a lot of fraud, and there still is a lot of fraud. I saw everything. And I'm talking about in terms of not people I worked with necessarily, but in terms of what I saw in the industry. And I knew exactly how people were operating and how the whole machinery works and still works that way. But I was, Russian would say, "Я смирился с этим,"
Yeah.
And I made peace with it. But at some point, I stopped making peace with it. I actually went to war with it.
By the way, when most people say, did you mature?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Are you an adult yet?
Yeah.
in other words,
have you numbed yourself?
Have you made peace with some level of evil where you can make a living?
Exactly. And you know what's interesting? The minute I stopped making peace with it, 2010, actually it was right after the collapse. And then I actually had my best months actually during and after the collapse. And then 2 years after that, I guess it took for me to have like a big blow up where I lost a lot of money and I realized how manipulative the whole thing is, to where I was like, okay, like I stopped making peace with it, and I actually went to war with it. Like in my mind, there's no way to go to war with it by yourself. Obviously, it's like one person against the whole machinery. But I went to war with it on a moral level, and actually, the minute I went to war with it is the minute I stopped making money in it. Even if I tried. It's just interesting how my mindset just changed, and also had to do with I was connecting more to Torah and mitzvahs and all these things. Again, I started seeing more. I feel
like in my mind, or the times that I've tried to make peace with it, God would not allow it.
Same, yeah. Especially when I started, especially when I started keeping Shabbat and all these things. God was just like, no, I'm not going to let you not see. Or I'm going to not only not let you, well, you already see it. You always saw it. I'm not going to let you turn away or not take action on it.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, you might say this about yourself. I feel like I didn't get the standard package.
In terms of what?
Meaning, like, I've never had...
Oh, again, for sure not.
I have no marketable skills.
I have marketable skills. I just, for some reason, I really haven't a clue how to monetize my... Yeah, like, I really have no...
Yeah, that's called having no marketable skills.
Dude, no, I have... No, it's marketable skills, but I don't know how to market them. Dude, you know that I wrote an email...
Greg, I feel like slapping you right now.
Can I give you an example of like what I'm talking about? Okay. You know how you and I, we sit around and we talk about like AI and all this kind of stuff, and I've been talking to my father about AI since I'm 12 and have all these ideas and this. Dude, I emailed a guy. I tried to get a job by way of emailing this guy who runs a company that does something in AI. It was a block away from my apartment in Jerusalem. And you should see the email that I wrote to him, thinking that he would even bring me into an interview. Just by virtue of like me being passionate about AI. I never worked in AI. I'm not a programmer. I'm not a I don't know, engineer. I'm not a physicist. I'm not a PhD. I just say things, and I think things, and I somehow think that I can work in AI. Given the chance, if only somebody just gave me a chance, I would learn. Really, I would learn. Just like I learned everything else I know how to do in my in whatever business and stuff. I learned self-taught. I learned how to trade stocks. I learned how to do marketing. I learned how to do write slogans. I learned how to write. I learned how to whatever. I taught myself crypto.
You misunderstood a very, very important principle.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be first, to be second. Nobody wants to be the one that trains you. They want to be the one that benefits from however you got your training to begin with. You understand?
You're saying they want to hire a guy with a PhD and benefit from that guy who already...
No, whatever. Somebody who already has experience and already has a...
But how do you get experience? That's a catch-22. It's like, I remember...
Yeah, they don't... Dude, right, exactly.
Do you understand what I mean? I went to bartending school. They're like, nobody's going to hire unless you have experience. So how do you get experience? Well, you have to go to mom and pops. If you go to mom and pops says, well, you need experience in a bar. How do I get experience?
It's like
Right.
it's like the girl that says,
Okay,
"I can't go out with you because I don't know you." Well, how do you get to know you? Go out with somebody. Blood.
Okay, so let me explain. Dude, you don't know how to. You don't know how to interpret language.
I interpret language. It's just stupid.
No.
The whole world is stupid.
Like, dude, you get angry.
I get angry
but
because it's stupid.
You would get less angry if you were able to decipher what's being said when it's being said.
I do decipher. I just don't accept. That's my problem. I decipher well. Yes.
Okay? I mean, you're wasting your energy. It's useless. Instead, just use the knowledge to listen.
Yes.
Okay? When the girl says, I don't want to go out with you. I don't know you. That means
I know
didn't
that.
grow up with you.
I know that.
And I don't trust anybody that's not from my neighborhood or anybody that I didn't see as a kid.
No, I know that. It's just I was using that as an example of whatever.
Well, okay, so I'm interpreting. Okay, I'm translating.
Yeah.
Okay, when somebody says, you have to find. When somebody says you need experience, okay?
Yeah.
You know what that really means?
You're not a fucking PhD and go get a PhD.
No. That means God did not bless you with the opportunity to learn this by someone either in your family, a friend, or maybe somebody that needed your help.
I think it's BS. I was just lazy because I'm no stupider than this one guy I know who's a robotics and math PhD guy. I was just too lazy to go do what he did.
Can you please just listen to me?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really learned this point very finely.
Okay.
When I was doing the electrical apprenticeship.
Okay.
The only people that make it through electrical apprenticeships are electricians. So but wait a minute, how do you learn how to be an electrician?
Can I pause you for a second? It's like that episode with Larry David and the little Russian kid. He passed away, actually, the actor. What's his name? He's a Russian Jewish kid, and he was doing a magic trick. And Larry's like, can you teach me the trick? And he's like, no. He's like, why? Because only magicians know, it's a magician's secret. He's like, so how do you become a magician? You have to see this thing. He's like, how do I become a magician? It was like, well, you have to be taught by another magician. Well, okay, so can you teach me? He's like, no, but why not? Because you're not a magician. He's like, how do you know? Because only a magician can tell who's another magician. And you're not a magician, Larry. So I can't teach you the trick. It's kind of like that, right?
It's like that, but here's what it is in real life. Every single one of these electricians are the son of an electrician, the grandson of an electrician, the nephew of an electrician, okay? The son of the best friend of an electrician, okay? It is some kind of Mesorah that you had to be in proximity of, okay? In some familial way.
So here's my question, man. But you always hear these stories of these Russian Jews like ourselves, or like me, let's say, that came to America and they just wanted to get out of poverty, and they ended up starting some startup. And their parents know nothing about computers. There's no Mesorah anywhere. And these people just work their ass off. And the story goes that I'm just like them, and I have no worse, talents than them. And I chose not to work my ass off because I'm lazy.
Okay, so that's the other way. Okay, I've met two electricians that were like this that I'm about to say. They went to a 2-year electrical school program. They paid for it. Okay, which included the education and the hands-on, where the teachers there you were paying them to teach you.
Yeah. Okay,
so that's how you do it. But even not everybody has the opportunity to do that, because that means you have to have, either your own money to pay for it and the time to learn, or you have to have a parent who can afford. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It always comes down to God. Yeah. Did God give this to you as a gift in one way or the other?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
So if God didn't give it to you, what are you supposed to do? Not it, but anything. or if he gave you
God gave you something.
or if you gave you he gave you talents, dude. You know that I was talking to a friend of mine, and she goes to me. She's like, Tzvi, so when are you going into? Because she sees that I already expressed a desire to go to law school. I don't know what's stopping me. I'm just like being weird. But she's like, okay. So she kind of like half jokes. She's like, so it's either law school or smicha for you. You know, she sees like I have like. I could either do one of those two. You know, which would be good for me. And she's like, and I'm like, listen, I have my business, whatever, my wine business. She's like, I don't know. I see that as like
how about becoming the greatest podcast?
No, just listen. Just
in history.
No, so listen. So she's like, I feel like the wine thing is like a hobby for you. She's like, no, but then she's like, I'm only saying that not to discourage you. She's like, I'm saying that because I feel like there's some not just desire, but there's something inside of you that you're not applying, that you want to get out. You know, you want to get it out. You want it to flourish, and that there's something that you're not letting flourish. And it's interesting she said that because like even today, like my friend asked me a question about like he sends me the thing with Trump, you know, the whole civil suit. Dude, I never went to law school, and I just blurred out to him. I'm like, yeah, so like, you know, the what is it, Letitia James, and it's a civil lawsuit, and a civil lawsuit it's like this, and in what is it called, and in a criminal it's like this, and I had a friend who had a civil, and you pay this, and you go here. Most people like, dude, I'm an armchair lawyer, right, in this particular situation, but like most people don't have the understanding to analyze these things in a second. And I'm not saying this to brag about myself. I'm just saying like I'm good at that shit. And there's no reason why I should just not do it. You know? But for some reason, I'm not driven to take the LSAT, and I'm not driven to go sit in a fucking classroom. I'm just driven I'm just driven to do it. I just don't want to get the papers to do it. I just want to do it already.
No.
I don't feel the need to pass through a church and a filter and a system and whatever and sit in a class and have a guy talk at me. Maybe he's a leftist. I don't know. You know, move to another state. I don't feel that. I just don't feel мне не хочется, you know, to do that aspect of it, that component for that. I want to skip to the reality already.
Yeah. So basically, here's another aspect. You instinctively understand that there's going to have to be a major transformation in your character, who you are as a person, in order to stomach going through the process.
It's not transformation. It's more of like going back to the horrible anxiety that I had in college, and I really don't want to freaking do that.
That's what I'm describing. That's literally the same thing.
No, exactly. I don't want to have to sit in a classroom and then like have such anxiety that I have to go run to the bathroom.
Okay, so the answer is always, here's one thing I've noticed, it's always something that's much simpler than the stuff that you're considering doing, that someone told you is a good opportunity.
No one told me. I actually like it. No one told me.
My whole life people have been telling me, you should go into Hollywood, or you should become a psychologist.
No, listen. No one told me per se. It's something that actually, ironically, I was the one that, brought it forth.
No, that's your reptilian brain.
No, I actually, no, dude, I'm telling you, I actually really like it, and I've liked it for a very long time. And again, the reason I haven't done it is because I remember when I was 27 years old, I sat in that LSAT prep course, and I wanted to shoot myself. And then I took the LSATs, and it was confusing as hell with those questions. If Sandy and Bobby and Jimmy do this and that, I don't know if you've ever seen LSAT questions.
I can relate to you.
Horrible. Horrible.
I want to shoot you too.
And I said, no, but listen, and I sat in that LSAT test, and I'm like, what in the actual mother flip does this have to do with me going to court and I don't know, whatever, suing somebody for punitive damages? Jimmy and Bobby and Tony running on a train, and if they do this and that and this freaking riddle.
Dude, listen, I'm trying to tell you, it's a process of it's joining a cult. Do you understand?
I know it's joining a cult.
You don't want to pay your dues. You don't want to bend over and take it up the ass to join a fraternity.
Yeah, I just want to do what I see on the screen, not the screen, on what I'm reading, and I'm literally able to analyze it in 2 seconds and figure out. Like, I could literally figure out how to represent Trump in a case, dude. Mamash. All I have to do is like Google laws and Google like different variants of like what I could do.
What do you want? You want to avoid the casting couch.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
No one avoids the casting couch in those fields.
Dude, maybe Pluto will change all that.
Okay. Me too, Greg. Me too.
Not because I suck at it, but because I'm really good at it.
Hashtag me too.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay, can you shut up about yourself for 2 seconds? Let's talk about me.
Dude, this is not just about me. This is about people who have unrequited and unfulfilled talents for this very reason. Not because they're lazy, and not because they are, not because they're not talented, but because of this. Because somebody created a church.
Somebody told you that the talents that you have can only be expressed.
No, they didn't say only. I'm just saying that, like, listen, man, like.
So, okay, dude, I've heard you out. Now you
dude, Halavai, this thing should take off.
I guess you don't want to listen to me.
No, I do.
You have to. I listen to you from mad long. Just.
Yeah.
I want to give you something practical.
Okay.
Okay. Enough of this chick talk.
The hell? Well, sorry for...
ladies, they like to...
In the words of my Yemenite friend, sorry for expressing myself.
Yeah, they just want to express themselves. They're not necessarily looking for the answer.
Oh, I'm looking for the answer, Jerry. I want the answers.
Screw it. Listen. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. Just kidding.
Yeah,
the answer...
It's true.
...is... No, it's not. The answer is this. It's always something that's like right under your nose. Okay, now, until I had these conversations, right, I never realized that we could have the greatest podcast platform to teach Torah to the world that the world has ever known.
Yeah.
Okay? And we could step on Rogan's head.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because I've listened to his conversations, and I've listened to our conversations.
Well, he admits that he's a know-nothing monkey. He admits that.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just in entertainment value.
I know.
Okay? He's a comedian. He's funny.
Yeah.
There's things that are entertaining, but our conversations are more entertaining than his.
Do you know that the only entertaining episodes I've heard of him have nothing to do with him? It has to do with his guests.
Yeah, and the UFO episodes.
Not all the UFO, and then like Malone and like a couple other people. Everybody else, he brings on these comedians. He brings in these MMA guys. They're a bunch of freaking knuckleheads. They're not even that funny, and even if they are, it's just like there's nothing interesting going on. 90% of his people are just like. He recently had these 2 guys, one guy, they're both wrote books about climate change. So one guy is like, conservative guy. So he wrote how it's like basically, I'm giving you the short end of it. One guy wrote it's like BS and the other guy wrote it's true, right? So the guy who wrote it's BS invited the guy who, the leftist to debate. And then the leftist refused to debate him on Rogan's show. Because he says, as most leftists do, the science is settled on the stuff that he wants to debate about him. It's like debating. So it's like you want to debate me on gravity, even though it's not gravity. It's like bullshit. So this is remotely interesting, right? Not really.
I know.
Not that interesting.
Can I tell you my point?
Yeah.
Here's my point. I'm gonna boil it down real quick.
Yeah.
The moment you decide to commit yourself to these like conversations and take it fully seriously, like I'm trying to do,
I sure am. Yeah.
The moment you decide to do that, it's gonna blow up.
So what do you constitute? I mean, I take it seriously. What would constitute taking it in your eyes, taking it seriously? I mean, clearly.
Okay. So we there's a couple. We can start obviously by producing a couple of segments for who will publish
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that's definitely probably step number one, big time. Okay. Then we can begin posting, seriously start breaking up these conversations into segments by themselves, which we've done, but just much more of that.
Okay. But can I tell you, I really, really think, and it's not an excuse, and I think it's just the reality of it at the moment. I'm not saying it can't change. In fact, I think it will change very soon, based on what I told you today with Rumble, what's about to happen with Rumble and Cantor Fitzgerald. The mechanisms, the machinery is really stacked against people. Has been stacked against people like us, and so we have to figure out a way, or I guess Rumble has to figure out a way, how to help people like us, because.
In the meantime, we have someone else who will help us, under conditions.
So what does he need? So what do we need to give him? What do we need? What does it need to look like?
Well, it has to be something that doesn't harm his message. Okay. And I want to keep this vague. Maybe some people could figure out who we're talking about. I don't want to say. Yeah. Okay. We have to make sure that it's not. We have to be clean. Yeah. We have to be. It has to be.
That we already have content we can send him that already is in clip
form. I know.
I'm
not saying fine. I'm not saying we have to make new one. Yeah. We already have. Just as long as we do it, we gotta touch it up a little bit.
I have a question. Does it have to
include? There's the odd F-bomb that I throw. That's not so great. No, you know what I'm saying?
Is there stuff that we can send him where it's it's both you and me, or is it stuff I could send we're at one of my rogues, or it has to be? Can it be both?
It would probably be better if it's you and me, but also I have already sent him stuff of your rogues.
Oh, really?
I thought.
I didn't know that.
I have. Yeah.
What did you send him?
I actually sent him the.
You should send them. I made a video called "They Always Announce Their Plans," which is kind of in line with what he's been talking about. And also the Holocaust comparison thing. How those offended by Holocaust comparison. I'll send you them.
Hang on. Why you try to exclude me, man?
I'm not trying to exclude you. I'm just saying there's short clips of stuff that he, whatever. But I can for sure. I mean, we have Frank clips. We have our thing.
The message to the rabbi saying ain't so.
Oh, that one.
Sent that to him.
Okay. I have also our thing, Imaginary Hierarchies of Western World.
Yeah, I actually.
The filters.
You know what I think we should do?
Margaret Sanger.
Remember the one that actually got already a decent amount of views just on our own because you promoted it a little bit, right, on Twitter. The one about the image of God.
Yes, we could send him that.
So we could send him that. We might have to touch up a few things. A little bit of editing. Look, I've gotten a sense of who he's dealing with and what he needs, what will harm him and what won't. Yeah. So on that, you're gonna have to just trust me.
No, I definitely trust you. I just need to know. I need to get a sense, and we can for sure yalla, please.
Yeah, the stuff that this is. I think that we have some knowledge that and some ways of expressing it in a way that really nobody else can.
I know.
Okay. And I think that's really where that's our wheelhouse. Yeah. And personally, I even when I'm mad tired, 10 o'clock after dealing with this drama of patients and stuff like that, I don't struggle with motivation to prepare.
Same.
You know what I mean? So that right there
because
is the clearest message from God that there can be.
Yeah, and because there's no. There's nothing to prepare, really. I mean, there is something to prepare, but you know what I mean? There's nothing to really... All we're doing, all we've been doing is just dude, there's there's files in our hard drives from accumulated, watching movies and crap, and all we're doing is dumping
What I was really talking about was preparing the letter,
but that's
presentations, which obviously you're not into.
No, but I am into that. But sometimes it gets very
because you're insta-facing someone.
we should.
You must engage.
We should do a thing.
Don't interface.
No, I have to figure
stop
out.
With,
I have to figure.
Stop with the telebook.
You know something. I was talking to my friend about this whole Pluto thing, and one of the things she said was that one of the aspects of the Pluto thing is that people are going to remember the one day it was, what was it, a few months ago, September, October, whenever it happened. I was in Israel actually when the whole Facebook network went down. Instagram went down, Facebook went down, WhatsApp went down.
Yeah.
Didn't you, everybody said the same thing. We all felt liberated. We all felt like we weren't missing anything. Because if everybody's not able to access it, so then like, what are you missing, right? Nobody's posting anything, so you don't feel FOMO. I didn't feel FOMO. I don't know about you.
I felt fine. But I
felt amazing.
That if they were different, I thought that if they were really platforms for just uncensored thought, where everybody can do something, then I would miss it.
Yeah. Yeah, so like no, but like I can tell you that I felt liberated. I felt like somebody like removed shackles from my arms. And my friend told me that like this is basically the Pluto thing is like that's one of the aspects of it. And I actually think it's interesting that Trump is coming out with his the Truth Social stuff next week.
On that, it's probably going to be on the same day, right?
So I think you know what sucks though, because you have an iPhone, you could probably not get it. You should sign up for it actually.
I did. I'm on the waiting list.
Oh, okay, fine. So I don't even think it's available. See, it says beta testers get a glimpse of Donald Trump's new set. Yeah, I don't even think it's because I have an Android. I don't think it's available for Android. It's only it says pre-order on the App Store on the Apple. Actually, I don't know. Let me see if I can maybe get it for. Oh, I can't get it. Let's see, pre-order free. Can I get it for Mac? Curious.
Yeah. By the way, while you were wasting the folks at home's time and mine looking at this, I just want to say that the letter presentations have been a little dry for two reasons. First of all, I'm working out the kinks, and second of all, the moments where you do participate, it's good. And then you zone out.
Okay, so I'll basically.
But also, I've streamlined it. I have streamlined it.
I'll basically make a vow to be fully engaged.
All right.
Because it's not fair to you, but also it's not fair to Hashem, because Hashem is the one that, brought these letters down to the world, and I have to.
Yeah, man. Can you be fair to God already? Be fair to God.
I'm like ignoring Hashem. It's not cool. Truth Social. Anyway, App Store for iPhone. Oh, okay, fine. Interesting. Why would they only make it available for iPhone? I wonder. I guess it's like a whole... all these lefties are already writing their... Oh, it's a knockoff of Twitter. What is it supposed to be? What do you want it to be? Like...
Yeah, who cares?
Who gives a crap? They're all knockoffs of each other. Okay, wonderful.
It's a social media platform. Any social media platform is going to be a knockoff.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Citraka got it first. Okay, so we got it second. Like, okay.
Remember, everybody wants to be first to be second.
Yeah. It's incredible. Like, I don't know. I always sometimes think, if only somebody would just have the balls to sit and hire a person. I mean, people in Israel do that all the time. Even here, like they hire a person who doesn't know anything, make him an apprentice, and he like learns and he like does it.
Yeah, but remember, they're not going to do that for anybody. They're going to do that for a friend's son.
Yeah.
Okay. They're not going to waste that on someone who they don't know, because there's always a cousin, a nephew, a son, a daughter who needs that. So why wouldn't they give that to them? Why should they give it to you?
Yeah.
Nepotism. End of story.
Yeah.
It's not such a...
I know, it's nothing new. I know.
It's nothing new, but also, why should they give it to a stranger, right?
Yeah.
People have to take care of their own. So you just have to... If you're far away from an industry, right, then there's a reason. Like God didn't put me anywhere in proximity of electricians. Okay, I'm a complete alien.
I'll tell you, there's something to what you're saying because, you know, the guy that I'm talking about, the guy who's in the PhD in robotics, whatever it is, and all this kind of stuff, you know, his dad basically was essentially what equivalent of a PhD in Russia. So he has like that pedigree of, you know, going for that. But then you could say like my dad also was that, but I never really, I don't know, it just like wasn't.
Listen, whatever your dad is expert in, you could have easily gone into.
I just didn't want to. I didn't want to go into IT. I'm not
okay, so that's a choice you made. That's what you had available to you. Okay,
yeah.
Or you could have gone into high level math because of your mom, right?
Yeah.
So listen. Did you watch the last? I sent you a video with was it Eric Weinstein and Hal Puthoff? You know the interview with that guy Jesse Michaels.
No. Oh yeah. I didn't see the video. Yeah, yes, the physics of UFOs.
Yeah. So Eric Weinstein said something amazing. The world's most preeminent theoretical physicist right now, a guy named Ed Witten, Jewish guy. Sounds really strange when he talks. Super strange. Okay, sounds like an alien actually.
Interesting.
Okay, you got to play. Find the video of Ed Witten quickly.
Ed Witten.
Witten, yeah. Ed Witten, E.D. Witten, Whitten.
Edward Witten. How does scientific breakthroughs happen? Yeah.
Just turn anything on where he's talking.
Hold on. Okay, let's do this. Complex metrics on space-time. Wow, this guy is like.
He talks like this.
And then you won the Fields Medal, which is in mathematics, and we're the only physicists.
This is the guy interviewing him.
How did that transition happen?
Well, after some hesitations, I recognized at the age of about 21 that my talent was really in math and physics, and that's the direction I should go in. And I went to graduate school in physics because I was excited about the elements.
Okay, that's enough.
This guy is autistic.
Yeah, he's like not here. Okay?
Holy schmizzles.
Yes, but listen. This he's the world's most preeminent physicist at this time, possibly also a mathematician. Yeah. He really is. Yeah. I think he was like dealing with M-brain theory, that kind of stuff. Okay, so even his theory has the word brain in it.
Yeah.
Okay, so he is the son of the preeminent guy who was working on anti-gravity propulsion for the military in the 60s.
That's fun.
Yeah. And Eric Weinstein is like, how does nobody talking about this?
Yeah.
So see what I'm saying? Like that's what you're always gonna find.
Yeah.
Brilliant observations.
I don't know, man. I feel like.
Look, you got to either be part of the family or buy your way into it.
I hear what you're saying. I just feel like I've seen too many stories of guys like us, specifically Russian Jews from like backgrounds where the parents are literally nothing. Not to say that my parents are nothing, but I've seen situations. You know, like Jan Koum, the guy that invented WhatsApp.
Yeah.
His parents are nothing. He comes from poverty, from a place called Donetsk or wherever the hell he's from.
Dude, there's no such thing.
No, what do you mean? What do you mean?
Dude, listen, I thought also.
Can I pause it for a second? Here, can I read you this guy's history? This guy's life?
Can I read you Bill Gates' history?
No. I know Bill Gates' history. His dad was the CIA. Can I read you Jan Koum?
But that's not going to be in his history, right?
No, it will. Listen, Koum was born in Kiev. Okay? He grew up in Fastiv. It's like some small ass. 1992, at the age of 16, he moved with his mother and grandmother to Mountain View, California. Okay, so there you go, Mountain View, California. A social support program helped the family get a small 2-bedroom apartment there. His father had intended to join the family later, but he never left Ukraine and died in 1997.
Okay, so he moved to Silicon Valley. Okay, that's one way to get into it.
Yeah. Koum and his mother remained in touch with his father until his death. At first, his mother worked as a babysitter, while he worked as a cleaner. He worked as a cleaner at a grocery store, this guy Kum. His mother died in 2000 after a long battle with cancer. Okay, by the age of 18, Kum had become interested in programming. He enrolled at San Jose State University and simultaneously worked at Ernst & Young as a security tester. I don't even know what the hell that means. He also joined W00 computer security think tank founded in 1996, where he met future Napster creators Sean Fanning and Jordan Reddit. So he met these guys.
Yeah, he just ran into them.
Yeah, later that year he was hired by Yahoo as an infrastructure, but he was already an IT guy. He was just a very good IT guy. He quit school shortly thereafter. Over the next 9 years, Kum and Acton worked together at Yahoo. In September 2007, they left and took a year off, traveling around South America and playing Ultimate Frisbee. Both applied to work at Facebook, but were rejected. In 2009, January, Kum bought an iPhone and realized that the then 7-month-old App Store was about to spawn a whole new industry of apps. He visited this friend, just listen, I want to read you this whole thing. Alex Fishman, they talked for hours about Kum's idea for an app. Kum almost immediately chose the name WhatsApp, like what's up, because it sounded like what's up. A week later, on his 33rd birthday, he incorporated WhatsApp Inc. in California. WhatsApp was initially...
See, that right there, stop for a second, just for a second, okay? Look at that number 33.
Yes.
Look at this.
Yes.
Look at where he grew up. He grew up in Googleville, Mountain View, California.
Yeah.
This is already bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay, this is not, Dedushka Lenin. This is not, freaking, what you're reading is, George Washington chopped down the cherry tree and then was dishonest about it.
But there are people not like this, but people who also grew up in basically crap, who, Yeah,
listen, there's people who, they stumble upon stuff, okay? Look, the kid that I met at the construction site, okay? He's 21 years old. He already knew how to be a functional electrician because he was 2 years in a program. Yeah. How did he get into that program? It was $20,000 a year for the program. How did he get into it?
Yeah.
His father had the money to pay for it. How did his father have the money to pay for it? I don't know. His father had the money to pay for it and the confidence in him that it's not going to be wasted money. Right? Yeah. There's a lot of things that have to go just right for anything to be successful. Anything.
I know.
Okay? No one started from a garage just by themselves with nothing.
For sure.
Everybody needed God to set the whole stage for them.
Yeah, Mazal. For sure.
Okay? So you can... if God could provide the mazal, He could provide the stage, but you can act on it or not, right? But it has to be provided for you. Okay, so it's both. It's your hard work plus the leg up that God gives you. Those two things have to come together. Okay, so the guy grew up in Mountain View, California, and 33. Give me a break, okay? So, So wait, what the hell? We went off on a 7,000
By the way, he supports
tangent.
He supports Trump.
That's awesome.
He wrote on his here. In 2017, Kum began posting messages on Facebook in support of U.S. President Donald Trump. That year, he wrote, "As somebody who grew up in the Soviet Union, Donald Trump couldn't be more right about failures of socialism." There you go. Yeah, cool. He sold this thing for
Here's what I really want to know. When am I going to get a chance to do the bet presentation? I worked hard on it.
Probably.
I have an ego.
Probably Sunday or Monday, if that's cool with you.
You son of a beef.
Somebody. So he sold.
How about tomorrow?
Tomorrow's tough. I mean, listen, it's like super early in the morning.
Yeah, let's do it super early in the morning, man.
All right.
It's like, you know what I mean? It's like a hot potato.
See, we're doing that, and Jan Koum sold WhatsApp for $19 billion to Prick Book. And then he sold $2.4 billion worth of Facebook stock, which is about half his total holdings.
Greg, listen to this.
Yeah.
Okay? You know how when God pulls down the proverbial projector screen and then starts to play back certain moments in your life that we're not looking forward to, right?
Yeah.
This is going to be one of them for you, Greg. When the poor Frank just wanted to teach some Torah, the letter Bet.
Yeah.
And Greg just wouldn't let him.
Yeah. And Hashem is like, you know that I started the Torah with the letter Bet, and you just ruined it, Brian.
Dude, right now I'm purchasing a book as we speak.
Good.
It's called Why the Torah Starts with the Letter Bet.
It's incredible.
Okay, it's a $75 book. I'm investing in us, Greg.
Can I ask you a question? How come this Physics of UFOs, Eric Weinstein, Hal Puthoff, has only 95,000 views? Are they suppressing this?
I don't know, but because very few people know who Hal Puthoff is. Okay?
It doesn't matter. Just the title,
really,
The Physics of
should
UFOs.
Know, but very few people do.
The Physics of UFOs, the title. Forget about the Hal this and Hal that.
There's a lot, dude. For the same reason that we have 80 views.
Oh, seriously.
Okay, it's a similar idea.
Yeah.
All right. We are so brilliant. Okay, and handsome, by the way.
That's why you go on camera, right?
Yeah.
With an avatar.
I'm too handsome. Do you understand? I don't want to break the internet with my handsomeness. Okay. Forget about what's her name. The Kardashian.
Oh, Kardashian.
Forget about her.
I thought you were going to say Nancy Pelosi.
No. I was going to say Kardashian. You know, like that's a race of aliens from Star Trek. Yeah. But then I was like, no, that's Kardashian.
Yeah.
Kardashian is what's her name? She broke the internet.
Kardashian
right?
is a race of whores from Armenia.
Dude, that was off the hook.
Did you see? There's a video of them when they went to visit what's her name, Kim and her sisters. They went to visit Yerevan, right? And they went to Yerevan to commemorate their. There's like a really, kind of nice memorial that they have over there for the victims of the Armenian genocide. So what do these people do? These whores of Babylon. They go there, and you should see this video. They're dressed like whores. You're going to commemorate a Holocaust of your people, and you're dressed like a whore. I'm sorry. And they think that this is like classy.
Dude, remember Beer Fest? Remember Beer Fest?
Yeah.
Their grandma?
Yeah.
She was Cloris Leachman, right?
Yeah.
She goes, "Do you see this, Mr. Finkelstein? It's the mark of the whore." Remember?
Yeah, no, it's just like...
I don't know why. You're reminding me of her right now.
Dude, it's just like you're...
I think you just like saying, whore!
Hooah.
Hooah. Hooah. I did it. I bought the book. I bought it.
It's just like they're like going there. They did a fashion show at a genocide memorial site.
I'm sure the people were just absolutely thrilled.
Do they have these people have a concept of sneeze at all? Like ever? Even dude, it's a genocide memorial. It's not a club.
The Kardashians don't have a concept of sneeze.
Like once.
I think there's Armenians that do.
I know there's Armenians that do. I'm looking at it now. I see that there are Armenians who do, who are around them.
Dude, you got to watch. Conan O'Brien. He has he does these segments with his staff, right? And one of his personal assistant is an Armenian girl named Sona. Mm-hmm. And he went to Armenia with her.
Yeah.
It was great. It was great.
I saw that. Yeah.
They were, and he went with her to a matchmaker where they were trying to match her with a nice Armenian boy.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
They're very similar to their whole shidduchim thing is similar to ours. All these are called the Persians, Armenians. All the peoples have the same shtick with the shidduchim.
Called the semi khaki colored big nose people.
Yeah. What is it? Olive skin newcomers.
The olive skin newcomers.
Oh God. Oh, it's just like
I read somewhere, I think it was in the Gemara, that one of the standards of beauty was what they would do is if you would take like a pen or a pencil, right, and you would put it on the bridge of your nose. And if it would touch your eyes, if it would make any contact with your eyes, then you're considered ugly. So basically, a more aquiline nose was considered a higher standard of beauty. So we were born in the wrong century, my friend, or in the wrong region.
I guess so.
You big nose bastard. You hook nose Jew bastard.
See, I'm just looking at this video. She's in Armenia again.
Who?
She went in 2019 to Armenia. Just like it's interesting. Like, she actually has a close relationship with Armenia because I guess through her father. But her grandfather was from. Her grandparents were from. Came straight from Armenia to California.
I think Armenia would rather be associated with Sona from Conan O'Brien than with the Kardashians.
You know who's Armenian? Kasparov's father. He's Kasparian, and Kasparov's mother. Kasparov's father is Jewish. His mother is, I believe, he took his mother's last name.
You ever heard that joke? He's like, this Armenian guy walks into a Georgian bar, and he says, "Дайте, пожалуйста, выпить немножко грузинского коньяка." You ever heard this one? You never heard this one?
No.
I'm not going to waste the folks at home's time because it only works in Russian.
Yeah. Tell the joke.
No, he's like, da. So the bartender brings him the cognac from the brandy actually, and then the Armenian guy's like, da армянский коньяк лучше, чем грузинский, right?
Yeah.
And then he takes another sip. He goes, da армянский коньяк лучше, чем грузинский. Obviously, the Georgian guys are getting infuriated, right? And then in the end, he takes a third sip. He goes, да, действительно, армянский коньяк лучше, чем грузинский. And then some Georgian guy can't take it anymore. He's like, чем он лучше, чем грузинский.
In what way? Yeah, I get it. Yeah. That's funny.
It only works in Russian.
It only works in Russian because it's a play on words. Yeah. Listen, I have a very short Georgian joke. Very short. Givi and Gogi are hanging out, on park bench. Givi goes, Gogi, помидоры любишь? The guy goes, кушать да, а так нет. Did you get it?
Yes.
He's like, do you like tomatoes?
You like tomatoes.
To eat, yes,
yeah,
but
to eat it, but not really for the other.
Like that, no.
Not like that,
Yeah. Do you love tomatoes? Because we don't say, there's no word for like. We can say тебе нравится, but you say, do you любишь? Like, do you love tomatoes?
So the word любишь means love, or do you have a proclivity?
Yeah.
What do you prefer?
Yeah.
In terms of your sexual appetites.
Yeah.
It always resorts to that.
Yeah.
With those jokes.
Yeah.
Девочка, приходи мне домой в 8 часов, никого не будет. Девочка приходит, никого нет.
Come to my house at 8 o'clock. There's not going to be anybody there. She gets to the house. There's nobody there. Including him. There's
this other one which I
didn't you
cannot
just want to do that
correctly.
on some dates? You'd be like, come over, or come here to this block. There's not going to be anybody there. You just don't show up.
There's this one where там грузин увидел красивую девушку на трамвае, и он подошел к ней, и он хапанул ее, и она говорит, ой, пусти, и он говорит, куда ты идешь, и бросает ее на пол, она говорит, ой, и он говорит, ту, какие мы нежные. I cannot deliver that joke correctly at all, but anyway, this is like something that an American person probably would never understand, Like, basically, a Georgian guy, he was very ungentlemanly with a woman, and when she didn't respond the way he liked it, he roughed her up. And then when she started crying, he's like, "Oh, look how sensitive we are." But it's funny. Yeah, it's funny in Russian.
Yes.
Russian jokes are all disgusting and awful. Everything is awful all the time.
It's not that bad.
Racist, every and somehow hilarious. It's a foolish thing.
Yeah.
It's funny. We started off on Erev Rav and we moved on to Erev Rav. We actually did move on to like the essence of what the Arab Rav created, which is this the casting couch. Really,
Russian jokes, casting couch.
In reality,
yeah,
they created the casting couch. Like they created this system that unless you go through it, you can't be part. You know, it's
Hollywood. Hollywood.
It's like
huge.
It's a big club and you ain't in it. You know, like George Carlin used to say.
Yeah. It's funny, like Bill Burr said something funny. He goes, I really don't get these people, carrying the signs, like, oh, the Democrats agree to right? So we got to support this, that. And then, some other people in Missouri are like, no, but the Republicans, right? And he's like, you're not. He goes, you idiots. You're not part of it. You're not part of it. You're not. You think you're involved, but you're not part of the process at all. They don't get. You're not part of the club.
Yeah, it's like, why do you think that when people like Marjorie Taylor Greene get in and other people like her, the rest of that crowd realizes, wait a minute, this person is playing with house money. They don't belong here. We never actually. We haven't had for the people by the people in like 100-something years. What the hell is she doing here? No wonder they're trying to get her away. Not because she's dumb, because she's not, like, she's supposed to be there, but she's not supposed to be there.
Trump cracked he cracked the whole.
He cracked the window. Yeah.
He cracked the shell. Yeah. And now we have like these foreign entities creeping into our system here now, right?
Yep.
We can't have that.
Yeah, we can stomach a Marco Rubio. We can stomach a whatever, I don't know. Name another guy who was like up and comer. I don't know. We can stomach guys like that.
There's a guy in Texas that my brother is supporting. I'm trying to remember his name.
He's a military guy, former military guy.
Military guy, yeah. I'm trying to remember. Do you remember his name? Let me see.
Your brother's, it's like every other post that your brother makes. The guy's name is Nelson, Jason Nelson.
Yeah.
So, other than that, it's like, that's why they just like want them out. They're like, wait a minute, what the hell are you doing here?
If Laura Loomer gets in, then,
Dude, the ultimate FU to all of them was the Jersey trucker who unseated the would-be Speaker of the New Jersey House of Representatives, or New Jersey Senate, whatever. New Jersey Legislature. The guy who spent $2,000 on his campaign, and he won. Talk about a message.
Message.
That's like the ultimate, it's like, I don't know what's the equivalent in 1776 of that. Like a firing,
Dude, so
like
maybe
a warning shot. Before
1776, the first 1776, that had to be done with like, you had to go to a different continent to get your, to get free speech, right? To get distance from the evil, from Mitzrayim, from Egypt, right? To run away. Now, getting out of Egypt is about information sharing, right? So this new platform, these new platforms, right? That could be, in a sense, like this new promised land, right?
It's like the Mayflower. Yeah.
Okay, because if people have, because if everybody has a voice on these platforms, they're done. They are nullified instantaneously.
Yeah.
They know they're finished.
Of course. That's why Mr. Trudeau is going berserker, as we say in the movie Clerks.
Yeah.
Mein Olaf Berserker. Olaf Metal. Do you see that movie?
Clerks?
Yeah.
Of course.
Olaf, like girl?
Disgusting.
It wasn't even disgusting. It was a stupid movie. It was like...
It was stupid. But if people made it out to be some kind of like intellectual a triumph or something like that, it wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Silent Bob should have stayed silent.
Well, at least Jay, what's his name? Muse. Jason Muse straightened up his life.
Oh, from Jay and Silent Bob?
Yeah, and and ended up marrying a smokestack. Of course.
I remember his little song. He goes, "Hello there, little man. Put the money in my hand."
It's weird. Just weird.
Remember when they were tracking down everybody who made a bad comment about them online?
Yeah.
This kid would open the door and just punch him in the face.
Huh. It's weird. Wait, this was in the first movie or the second one?
No. This was already like Jay and Silent Bob. Like
Strike Back or something?
That was the second one.
Huh. I don't know. Just strange. Yeah, so, dude, I don't know. By
the way, I just want to point out, with this Erev Rav, we stopped at the same point that we stopped at last time.
That's funny. So we can go on. I mean, we're at 3 hours already in this episode, but we can keep going.
Let's just read a tiny bit more, okay, so that we could say we made an inch of progress. Okay, so we talked about these different levels of soul. We talked about reincarnation, and the whole point is, these whole different reincarnations are not full reincarnations, but they're opportunities to fix certain things that need to be fixed. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. What that means, again, very simplistically, that God sees that Mikey Cohen still needs to fix his soul level 1, or Nefesh, right? And that Linda Abrams still needs to fix her soul level 2, or the Ruach. And then Ellie Strauss still needs some work on his soul level 3. And by the way, all 3 of these people could all be part of one soul. Mm-hmm. Okay? So you could have other people alive at the same time that have a different part of your soul that are working to fix that.
Yeah.
Okay. So then God creates a new... So again, Eli Strauss still needs some work on his soul level 3, which is the neshama, right? So then God creates a new body called Susan Freeman, whose soul now contains bits of all these other people, and he gives her the job of finally fixing the mess that the other people couldn't, that they either made or that they couldn't fix in their time. So here's the crucial thing to remember. While the different components of Susan's soul are all old, right? Mm-hmm. And have all been down here many, many times before, the spiritual soul entity that is Susan's soul is completely unique. Mm-hmm. That's what we were talking about before. Those different soul sparks have never been put together before, and they will never be put together again. So while the soul is old, it's almost completely unique. Yeah. Okay? So God doesn't do the same thing twice. Everyone today is an old soul. Okay? At this stage in history, there are no new souls. Except for converts. Every single Jew walking around today has a soul that's made up of different bits of different people from the past. Okay? That's part of what makes modern life so confusing, intense, and heavy, because there's so much spiritual, unfinished business going on. This has profound implications for what it means to have an Arab Rav soul, as we'll discover in a moment. But before we get there, there are a few more things you should know about the Jewish concept of reincarnation. Okay, so Jews do believe in purgatory. Mm-hmm. Okay, what's often incorrectly referred to as hell. It's Gehenna, purgatory. Yeah. Not in the mainstream way that you typically find in the West. Jewish purgatory typically only lasts a maximum of 11, or in very rare cases, 12 months with very evil, the most evil people. Okay? And it only atones for the sins they committed in relation to God. Yeah. You know that? Gehenna. Only. Yeah. So purgatory will only fix the sins that you did against God. Okay? But if you... if you didn't keep the commandments between man and God the way you should have, for example, like observing Shabbat, or keeping kosher, or fasting on Yom Kippur, then purgatory pays down that debt. But purgatory doesn't atone for any of the sins you did to people. If you stole something and didn't repay it, some part of your soul will probably need to get reincarnated to take care of that debt. If you hurt someone badly and never apologized for what you did, some part of you may need to come back again. And this time you could be the one that's on the receiving end of some pretty nasty behavior to even things up spiritually. If you treated your spouse very badly the last time around, chances are high that in this lifetime you'll be married to someone who makes your life a living hell. As soon as you understand that reincarnation is a basic tenet. So by the way, everything that we just heard, everybody has experiences that on some level. Everything is a medley of all these things we're reading about. Okay, so as soon as everybody's like, everybody's experience, everybody's package here contains some of all of this. As soon as you understand that reincarnation is a basic tenet of the Jewish faith, albeit in a far more complex and complicated form than we've set out here, right? It's way more complicated than even what we're describing here. So it also suddenly starts to answer a whole bunch of those difficult questions about why apparently bad things happen to apparently good people. So we often can't understand why we have to endure many of the difficult things that all of us go through in our time down here on planet Earth. But once we know that we were here before and that we did a whole bunch of stuff that now requires fixing, could make the hard things we have to go through so much easier to bear. Yeah, I disagree. But why the system, right? Anyway, moving on. It's now been more than 3,300 years since the Egyptian Exodus. Those original souls of Bnei Israel and the Arab Rav have now been reincarnated, spliced together, reincarnated, refitted, reincarnated so many times now. It's very unlikely that there's anyone alive today who has all 5 parts of 100% Arab Rav soul. So there's no 100% Arab Rav people anymore. Okay? Just like I don't think there's any 100% Amalekites either. On some level, at some stage, the Arab Rav souls were all intermingled with the souls of the children of Israel. This is one explanation for why things appear to be so mixed up and confused today. Once we understand that different soul sparks are coming from different places, it makes it much easier to grasp why, for example, someone who appears to be completely irreligious can truly have a heart of gold, right? And treat other people so morally. And also why someone else who appears to be so learned in Torah and so externally pious can have so much work to do when it comes to the more basic facets of acting like a mensch. Okay? Yeah, you see that everybody knows what we're talking about right now. Today, if we try to judge people, including ourselves, by the measure of whether we're acting like the Erev Rav, in some way, nearly all of us are going to fail the test. Okay? One person will learn Torah assiduously, but still be treating their friends like dirt. Another person will give charity generously, but still be living a completely immoral, unkosher lifestyle, right? As an aside, I heard a story firsthand that illustrates this point to a T. One of my rabbis, this is the author speaking, was acquainted with one of the big mafia bosses in Israel, who was personally involved in organizing the supply of hard drugs into the Holy Land. Every week, the man would religiously tally up his profit on a Thursday morning and then use that money to anonymously pay for food baskets to be sent to hundreds of religious families. Okay, so they would have food to eat on Shabbat. He continued doing this for years until he was eventually murdered by one of his competing drug lords. Okay, that's not to say that the process of rectification is going to be easy. Okay, clearly, the more Erev Rav soul sparks a particular person has, the harder it's going to be for them to rectify everything they need to spiritually. But the key point is this: today there are no more 100% Erev Rav souls. On a fundamental level, even if we have parts of an Arab Rav soul, every single one of us still has a spark of the Pintele Yid. That's the Yechida. That's, by the way, that's another name for the you. That's the you. That's that one. Okay, you're the observer, the Pintele Yid. Okay, or eternal Jewish soul inside of us. Okay, now every single one of us can can still make complete teshuvah. Which brings us to our seventh secret. The seventh secret of the Erev Rav is that even if someone has only a 1% soul spark from Am Yisrael, that's still enough to rectify the other 99% and to return the whole soul in a completely rectified state back to God. Okay, so it's about traits, not people. Instead of pondering about whether so-and-so is Arab Rav or a real Jew, which has only managed to lead us down some very bleak spiritual dead ends, as described above, the discussion must now evolve into one of Erev Rav traits that need to be identified and fixed, okay, and away from Erev Rav people. Okay, so, but how do we actually do that? We'll find out in the next few chapters. Okay, so we don't have to continue this. So.
I hear that.
Right? We're not about practical solutions, folks. We're just about bitching about the problems, and then when it comes to finding out how to deal with it, we stop.
Yes. Huh. On that note, it's been 3 hours and 15 minutes.
We're doing bet tomorrow morning, just out of respect for my
and I want to post this episode now.
Yes.
So people can watch it, and Bezat Hashem bet will be tomorrow morning.
We will be the greatest broadcasters in the history of existence.
Bezat Hashem. In the history of
the greatest Kabbalists that ever lived.
In the history of people's mind's eye.
Yes. Yes, we're here to rock everybody's world. Okay.
All right,
man.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Peace.
Peace out.